Chapter 420, Taking a Concubine. Lu Changsheng took out a jade scroll and handed it to Lu Miaoge. Inside the jade scroll was a foundational spiritual pattern from the 99 mystical talisman scripture, one of 81 spiritual patterns. But this one foundational spiritual pattern could give rise to over 300 types of runes. It contained the profundity of the talisman path that was difficult to comprehend. If Lu Miaoge could comprehend it, she would benefit greatly and make significant progress in the talisman path. Moreover, he wanted to see how long it would take for Lu Miaoge to understand and comprehend this spiritual pattern. If Lu Miaoge could fully grasp this spiritual pattern and successfully sketch it before her foundation establishment, Lu Changsheng felt that he could consider teaching her the 99 mystical talisman scripture. Although Lu Miaoge had cultivated the Saturn solar sword technique. But compared to the 7 luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, this 99 mystical talisman scripture was obviously more suitable for her. A talisman path inheritance? Lu Miaoge said, somewhat surprised and astonished. She had not expected that Lu Changsheng had another talisman path inheritance. But thinking of Lu Changsheng's understanding of the talisman path, her heart eased slightly. That's right. My rapid progress in the talisman path is also related to this inheritance. Lu Changsheng nodded and said warmly. Lu Miaoge took the jade scroll and examined the spiritual pattern on it. Looking at the spiritual pattern on the jade scroll, Lu Miaoge was stunned and immersed in it. It took her a long time to come back to her senses and said, Changsheng, this spiritual pattern is incredibly profound. It appears simple, yet it's extremely complex, containing countless variations, which are profound and difficult to understand. Lu Miaoge said aloud. As a top-level talisman master, she indeed had a certain level of discernment and understanding of the talisman path. She could clearly see that this spiritual pattern included many combinations and variations. She wanted to discern these variations, but the more she looked, the more she realized how profound and mysterious the pattern was, and it eluded her. In her heart, she marveled that Lu Changsheng was able to sketch such a complex and profound spiritual pattern. That's right, this spiritual pattern has 365 variations, evolving into 365 types of runes. Lu Changsheng smiled and began to slowly explain the various changes and the mysteries within this spiritual pattern. Listening to Lu Changsheng's warm voice explaining the profound truths of the talisman path, Lu Miaoge became deeply engrossed. After Lu Changsheng finished explaining, Lu Miaoge looked at his exceptionally handsome profile and became slightly entranced. She recalled the moments from when she first met Lu Changsheng until now. From the initial impression of not bad, to a person not bad. To the exasperation of his indulgence in the company of women. Then seeing his rapid progress on the talisman path, leading to an air of mystery. Not only did he save her from a life-threatening situation, but he also provided the 3 Suns elixir, an exquisite level cultivation method, and a rare treasure such as the treasure-seeking mouse. Now, he was imparting such a talisman path inheritance, teaching her the profound truths of the talisman path. Being able to comprehend and understand this spiritual pattern so thoroughly made her feel that Lu Changsheng was definitely not as simple as just advancing to 2nd grade talisman master. What's wrong, suddenly looking at me like that? Lu Changsheng, seeing Lu Miaoge's beautiful eyes brimming with admiration, couldn't help but smile and ask. I just feel that you have become more and more impressive, Changsheng. Lu Miaoge said with a lovely smile in a soft voice. Sister Miaoge, I have some secrets and fortunes. But don't worry, I will tell you all about these secrets and fortunes in the future. Lu Changsheng knew that explaining the spiritual pattern had caused Lu Miaoge to be puzzled and skeptical. Which was normal. Even just a basic spiritual pattern from the 99 mystical talisman scripture was extremely profound. Not something that someone who had just advanced to 2nd grade talisman master could fully comprehend. I know. Changsheng, if there's something weighing on your heart, you can always talk to me about it. Lu Miaoge's eyes were moist and her demeanor gentle as water, as she spoke softly, adding, we are husband and wife. Sister Miaoge. Hearing this, Lu Changsheng's heart warmed. The strength, treasures, and secrets brought by the system, which he had always kept hidden in his heart for fear that revealing them would cause trouble, were indeed tiring. But fortunately, he had his wives to ensure he had no other worries in his daily life. Looking at his wife in front of him, he embraced her graceful and delicate body and kissed her deeply on the lips. Changxing. Lu Miaoge hadn't expected that after just having been intimate, Lu Changxing would want her again. Combining the transmission of Tao and pleasure, it might actually help with understanding spiritual patterns. He whispered into her ear, his breath hot. Faced with Lu Changxing's instruction, Lu Miaoge could only half close her eyes languidly, gently biting her lip, and listen intently. But because the teachings were so profound, she also felt the strain of learning, her body covered in fragrant sweat. After a while, as the transmission of knowledge and essence concluded, she, too, reciprocated passionately, contemplating the principles within. The next day, Lu Changxing visited the courtyard where Xianxia was staying. Inside the courtyard, Xianxia, dressed in a moon-white gown, looked as graceful as ever, showing no signs of having just given birth. She watched serenely over the cradle where Lu Wangshu was sleeping soundly. Changxing, you're finished with your tasks, Xianxia said with a smile when she saw Lu Changxing, speaking in a gentle voice. You. Seeing this scene, Lu Changxing felt somewhat ashamed of his recent conduct. He felt that he truly hadn't fulfilled his responsibilities. Sitting down beside her, he watched the child and chatted with Xianxia. You, do you know what a blood talisman spiritual body is? He asked after a moment, thinking of his daughter's spiritual body. In this period, he had looked through several ancient books about spiritual bodies. However, he hadn't found any information about the blood talisman spiritual body. He knew that this superior spiritual body was probably rare. So he asked Xianxia. After all, it concerned the awakening of his own spiritual body and his daughter's future awakening. Blood talisman spiritual body? Xianxia, on hearing this, shook her head slightly. She had never heard of this spiritual body either. I don't know much about spiritual bodies either, she said. If you need it, Changxing, I will look for information about it when I return to Qingyun sect, she offered. I saw a brief description of this spiritual body in an ancient book and suspect that I might possess it, Lu Changxing explained. So I would appreciate it, Shiyu, if you could help me find more information about it. He didn't say that he had noticed the child had a spiritual body. After all, it would be somewhat exaggerated to determine that his newborn child possessed a certain spiritual body. As for his daughter inheriting this spiritual body in the future, the explanation was simple. His daughter inherited his excellent spiritual body, which was perfectly normal. Although the chance of passing on a spiritual body is extremely slim. But sometimes, things just happen to coincide. Blood talisman spiritual body, alright, agreed Xianxia. Learning that Lu Changxing might possess this spiritual body, she immediately took the matter more seriously. She planned to check the Sutra Pavilion upon her return to the sect, and if there was no information there, she would ask her master. She also told Lu Changxing that she planned to return to Qingyun sect after 3 more months, although she would come down the mountain whenever she had the time. If Lu Changxing had anything he needed, he could write to her. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't try to persuade her otherwise. After all, Xianxia had already mentioned that she would be leaving at this time. As a disciple of the Immortal sects, given tasks and a territory to defend, she couldn't possibly stay outside for long. Chapter 421. Xianxia leaves, awakening the blood talisman spiritual body. _1. In the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. During this period, both of the concubines newly taken by Lu Changxing, Jing Yongwan and by Feifei, succeeded in becoming pregnant. As for the 5 maids, only Luo Rui was pregnant for the time being. This was also why Lu Changxing spent most of his time at the Red Leaf Valley Market. At home, he only gave minimal care. However, this efficiency had already astonished the Zheng family, Bai family, and Luo family to no end. They thought to themselves that Master Lu truly enjoyed having children. It had only been 2 or 3 months, and they were already pregnant. Especially the Luo family head. He had thought that since his daughter was a maid, it would take a lot of effort to win Master Lu's favor. He never expected that she would become pregnant so quickly. He was truly pleasantly surprised. Immediately, all three families sent tonics to their respective daughters to ensure they were well nourished during pregnancy. After all, they had sent their daughters to Lu Changxing to be concubines and maids, hoping they would bear offspring to deepen the ties between their families. Now that they were pregnant, they naturally hoped the children would have spiritual roots and excellent talents to gain Lu Changsheng's attention. On this day, Xianxia was also preparing to return to Qingyun's sect. She carried her daughter and walked out of the Red Leaf Valley market with Lu Changxing. Changxing, as she looked at Lu Changxing and her daughter in his arms, her heart was filled with reluctance. She even had the thought of giving up going back to the sect, just so she could stay by Lu Changxing and their child's side. The separation now is only for a better reunion later, Lu Changxing looked at Xianxia and said gently. He also felt somewhat reluctant. But he still supported Xianxia's decision to return to the sect for cultivation. During this time, because of the child, Xianxia had become somewhat indifferent to cultivation. Wang Shu still can't call me mother. When I come back, will she have forgotten about me? The once Guanghan fairy, akin to the nine heavens' bright moon, had now descended to the mortal realm, entangled in worldly affections, becoming as sentimental and affectionate as most mothers. If you miss her, write to me, and I will bring Wang Shu to Qingyun's sect to see you, Lu Changxing consoled Xiaoxiye's emotions. No, it's dangerous to travel from here to Qingyun's sect. What if we encounter danger on the way? Xiaoxiye immediately shook her head. Though having Lu Changxing as a father meant they usually wouldn't face any danger, the child was still small, and she didn't want her daughter to suffer the hardship of travel. She then handed her daughter over to Lu Changxing. She asked him to take good care of their daughter. Don't worry, this is our daughter, I will naturally take care of her, Lu Changxing said affectionately while holding his daughter, his tone undeniably firm. Xiaoxia looked at her daughter for a while longer, then with her robes fluttering, she rode a crane and flew away. Watching Xiaoxiye's figure gradually disappearing into the horizon, Lu Changxing couldn't help feeling a bit empty. After all, the two of them had spent so many years together. Now that they were separating, he didn't know how long it would be before they saw each other again. Sigh. Lu Changxing looked at the child in his arms and let out a gentle sigh. Then he took a deep breath, exhaled softly, and after returning to the courtyard to tidy up a little, he resumed his true appearance and went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop. Changxing, this is? Lu Miaoge was somewhat surprised and curious as she saw Lu Changxing holding an infant. After all, normally, Lu Changxing hardly ever took such a young child out with him. This is the child of Xiaoxia and me, Lu Changxing spoke up, stating directly. Fairy Xiao's child. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge was somewhat shocked. She knew her husband had been assisting Xiaoxia in her cultivation. She had also guessed that her husband's relationship with this fairy was more than ordinary. But she never thought that while assisting in cultivation, they would have a child together. It was truly astonishing. Previously, Lu Changxing had told her about Xiaoxiye's situation. She had already conquered Foundation Establishment, was a core disciple of Qingyun sect. But now, a Foundation Establishment female cultivator, a core disciple of Qingyun sect, had borne a child for her husband. This left Lu Miaoge uncertain whether to praise her husband's charm or to say something else. Where is Fairy Xiao? Lu Miaoge looked outside and inquired. She has been away for a long time, she has gone back to Qingyun sect, Lu Changxing replied. Changxing. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoge's lips pressed together gently. Thinking that Xiaoxiye's farewell had saddened Lu Changxing, she stepped forward to gently embrace her husband. Fine, it's just a temporary parting, Lu Changxing replied with a smile, indicating that he was all right. Such a cute child, what is her name? Seeing Lu Changxing was fine, Lu Miaoge then turned her attention to the baby, smiling tenderly and softly asking. Wang Shu, Wang Shu. Lu Changxing handed the child to Lu Miaoge. He had brought the child over, hoping that Lu Miaoge would take care of her when she had time. Wang Shu, Lu Miaoge held the child, her face full of tenderness, recalling her own daughter, Lu Qingzhu. Changxing, you should have brought Fairy Xiao and the child over together, Lu Miaoge cooed to the child, her voice soft. Fairy Xiao must be worried about the child returning to Qingyun's sect alone. If she had come together with us, we could have talked to her, got to know each other a little, and she would feel more at ease about the child. Lu Miaoge continued to speak in her gentle way. Shiyu never brought it up before, and I didn't realize it either. Lu Chongqing, having heard this, felt it was indeed the case. Even though he was the father, he knew he wouldn't have time to take care of the child all the time, and it was certain that he would have to leave the child in the care of his wives and concubines. And among his wives and concubines, Xianxia had only met Lu Miaoge. Just brief encounters without much understanding. No doubt she felt less at ease. How could you let Fairy Xiao take the initiative to speak up about such a matter? Chapter 422. Xianxia leaves, awakening the blood talisman's spiritual body. Next time Fairy Xiao comes, Chongqing, you can let me meet her and have a chat with her. After all, Fairy Xiao is willing to have a child with you. She must be accepting you in her heart, Lu Miaoge said softly to her husband. She knew that even though her husband had many wives and concubines, he still didn't fully understand women's thoughts. Wife, you are right, Lu Chongqing nodded. Xianxia had a child with him, only lacking in official status. Sooner or later, she would have to meet and get to know his other wives and concubines. Now it was a good time to use the child as a bridge for communication. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months passed. Because he was preparing to visit Jiuxiao Immortal City, Lu Chongqing spent most of his time making talismans, preparing for his talisman formation. But while making talismans was important, he did not neglect his duties. He worked diligently every day and all 4 remaining maids became pregnant. The total number of his offspring reached 153. Husband, you've received a letter. One day, Lu Miaoyan handed a letter to Lu Chongqing. A letter for me? Lu Chongqing took the letter. It was from Xianxia. There were prohibitions on the letter. If forced open, the letter would self-destruct. Lu Chongqing broke the prohibition and read the contents. In the letter, Xianxia wrote that everything was well with her. Currently, she was being assigned a mission by her sect and was preparing to go to the Green River Marketplace as the record chief, so she wouldn't be able to come for a short period. Being a record chief was a training treatment only given to core disciples of a sect. It would broaden her horizons and help her understand the cultivation world. There was hardly any danger. The first few pages of the letter were filled with mundane daily affairs and the longing for her daughter, Lu Wangshu. At the end of the letter, Xianxia wrote that she had found information about the blood talisman spiritual body and the green jade luan bird in her sect. The blood talisman spiritual body is a latent type of talisman path physique, naturally compatible with the great Tao of talismans. This physique allows cultivators who have it to be exceptionally talented and make rapid progress on the path of talisman crafting. In addition, the blood talisman spiritual body can use one's own spiritual blood to enhance the success rate of talisman making. Furthermore, one can burn their spiritual blood and lifespan to feed a talisman and improve the grade of a talisman by a large margin. However, both methods resulted in substantial self-harm. Just as I had guessed, this blood talisman spiritual body is a type of talisman path physique. Use spiritual blood to improve talisman making success rate, burn lifespan and spiritual blood to improve a talisman's grade. Lu Chongqing muttered to himself as he read the information about the blood talisman spiritual body. The letter also mentioned how to awaken the blood talisman spiritual body. One method would be through some kind of blood sacrifice ritual to awaken the spiritual body, but Xianxia did not provide details about this ritual. The other method would be through the blood refinement method, using second-rank spiritual blood to continuously stimulate the body and thus activate the spiritual body. This method required that the spiritual blood must have a mild attribute. Otherwise, during the stimulation process, it could cause significant self-injury. Blood sacrifice ritual, blood refinement method. This blood talisman spiritual body, both its effects and awakening methods are, as the name implies, related to blood, Lu Chongqing said with a sigh as he read about the blood talisman spiritual body and its awakening methods in the letter. The second method, the blood refinement method, was explained by Xianxia in the letter, which seemed quite straightforward to Lu Chongqing. He planned to purchase some second-rank spiritual blood later and use the method described in the letter to awaken his spiritual body, to see how effective this blood talisman spiritual body truly was. As for the requirement that the spiritual blood must be mild, Lu Changxing ignored it entirely. He practiced the 100 refinements treasure body art, and his physical body was as tough as a superior magic artifact. He was not the least bit worried that such stimulation would cause him any harm. As for the information about the green jade luan bird in the letter, it was about incubation and feeding. For incubation, a nest should be cast from warm jade, then, use ingredients like green jade qiong lotus, red yang snow ginseng, bile of the azure scale snake, and powder of yuanshan crystal mixed with spirit stone powder to make a spiritual liquid, and pour it into the nest made of warm jade. Place the egg of the green jade luan bird in the nest, and then nourish it with spiritual power and mana every day, and in about 3 to 6 months, the spiritual pet egg would be incubated successfully. Incubating a spiritual pet egg really isn't easy. Seeing the incubation method, Lu Changxing couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. Just these materials alone would cost him thousands of spirit stones. And the price of this green jade luan bird egg was estimated to be just a few thousand spirit stones. This is also why many people are unwilling to raise spiritual pets. Hatching, feeding, waiting for growth not only consumes time and energy, but also financial resources. However, I remember seeing these Qingyu snow lotuses and Qiang snow ginsengs in Meng Yibai's storage bag back then. Lu Changsheng's eyebrows raised slightly. He vaguely remembered seeing these kinds of spiritual medicine and spiritual materials when he cleared out Meng Yibai's storage bag. And he hadn't dealt with these spiritual medicines and materials yet. Right away, Lu Changxing began searching for these spiritual medicines and materials in his several storage bags. A moment later, Lu Changxing found the materials needed to hatch the green jade luan bird from the storage bags. It seems that Meng Yibai had already prepared all this beforehand, only I never knew it, Lu Changxing thought to himself as he looked at these spiritual medicines and materials. He then made a nest with the sky blue warm jade in his courtyard. After that, he prepared the spiritual liquid according to the formula and placed the pet egg inside it. As for nurturing it with mana, Lu Changxing directly called over Lu Miaoyun. He asked his wife, Lu Miaoyun, to come and nurture the pet egg daily. After all, it would take 3 months to half a year of nurturing to hatch the green jade luan bird. He didn't have the leisure for that, nor would he always be at home, so it was better to leave it to his wife. Once the green jade luan bird hatched later on, he would also leave it for Lu Miaoyun to look after. "Husband, what kind of spiritual beast egg is this?" Lu Miaoyun asked curiously after listening to Lu Changsheng's instructions. The seller said it's the egg of some kind of flying demon beast. "As for which specific demon beast, you'll know once it hatches, you know," Lu Changxing said with a smile. It was not that he intentionally kept it a secret. He simply felt there was a certain anticipation this way. Upon hearing this, Lu Miaoyun did not ask further and expressed that she would take good care of the spiritual pet egg. Half a month later, Lu Changxing spent 2,400 spirit stones to buy 3 gourds of spiritual blood. This so-called second-rank spiritual blood was actually the blood of second-rank demon beasts. In Red Leaf Valley Market, as long as one didn't specify a certain type of demon beast blood, it was still possible to buy some. 3 gourds of blood should be enough. Lu Changxing looked at his 3 gourds of demon beast blood and thought to himself. He then went to his practice room, took out a large vat, and poured all the spiritual blood from 1 gourd into it. This 1 gourd of spiritual blood, naturally, was not as little as it appeared. These gourds, like storage bags, could hold several vats of liquid. 1 gourd of spiritual blood poured in, immediately filling more than half of the large vat. Gulu gulu gulu. This portion of spiritual blood came from a demon beast known as the blazing fire lion. Therefore, this blood was like magma, still emitting rolling heat. Lu Changsheng's expression remained calm as he stripped off his clothes and entered the vat. Then, following the blood refinement method written by Xiao Xie, he used the spiritual blood to stimulate his flesh. During this process, the demon beast blood continuously stimulated every inch of his skin and flesh, making his body seem to reveal all sorts of winding blood-colored runes. It looked mysterious and terrifying. Hum hum hum. As Lu Changxing continuously practiced the blood refinement method, the demon beast blood from the vat entered his body through his pores, traveled along his meridians to his dantian. There, the originally faint and sporadic blood veins in his dantian gradually became clearer during the process. Lu Changxing knew that once this blood vein was activated, the blood talisman spiritual body would successfully awaken. He opened his eyes, flicked his fingers, and the two gourds beside him automatically opened, pouring the spiritual blood directly into the vat. This 3 different kinds of spiritual blood were already quite domineering on their own. Mixed together, they were even more exceptionally stimulating to the human body. However, as a foundation establishment cultivator who had also been cultivating the 100 Refinements treasure body art, Lu Changxing naturally had no fear of this mere demon beast blood. As the spiritual blood continuously surged, stimulating the blood vein in the dantian, the blood vein became clearer and clearer, forming a mysterious rhythm. After a long while, an unusual aura spread out from within Lu Changxing. It caused the blood vein in his dantian to fully emerge, clearly visible. And at this moment, his body was covered in bizarre and mysterious blood-colored runes. But in the blink of an eye, these blood runes gradually faded and disappeared from view. So this is the blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing opened his eyes, aware that he had successfully awakened the blood talisman spiritual body. Chapter 423. Effects of the blood talisman spiritual body. 10,000 poisons devour the heart under Sun. The blood talisman spiritual body, how profoundly mysterious. It seems as though one is born with numerous insights into the talisman path. By continually learning and delving into the talisman path, one can integrate and have interrelated understandings, illuminating many difficult problems in talisman arts. Lu Changxing quietly experienced the changes brought by the blood talisman's spiritual body. When this spiritual body was activated, strands of blood patterns in his dantian gradually surfaced, eventually merging into his blood and bones. Almost instantly, many experiences and insights about talisman arts flooded his mind. These insights were enigmatic, indescribable and inexplicable. But as a second-tier top-level talisman master, and the inheritor of the teachings of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, Lu Changxing clearly knew that these were insights into the talisman path. This type of insight was not like the skills acquired from a system lottery, which directly poured knowledge and experience of talisman arts into the mind as if enlightening with a sacred teaching. Instead, it transformed into a kind of innate talent, allowing one to study the talisman path and gradually understand and assimilate, thereby making rapid advancements in the field. The abilities of the blood talisman spiritual body written about by Xianxia in her letter previously, by burning essence blood, it increases the success rate of talisman making. The method of burning the lifespan to raise the grade of talismans was also within these insights, and it manifested as an innate ability. However, the cost of this ability was steep. For example, creating a second-rank talisman required half an hour, which meant burning half an hour of essence blood. Once the talisman was created, surely the essence blood would be depleted, taking at least 3 to 4 months to recover. As for burning lifespan to increase the grade of talismans, it also depended on one's cultivation level. For instance, a Qi refinement cultivator aiming to elevate a first-grade talisman to second rank might have to expend more than a decade or 2 of their lifespan. If one tried to upgrade a second-rank talisman to third rank, it could mean the end of all their essence blood and lifespan. Moreover, even after depleting one's essence blood and life, success in upgrading the talisman's grade was still not guaranteed. One could only say that the ability of the blood talisman's spiritual body was fierce, but it was not against the natural order. This ability of the blood talisman's spiritual body seems quite suitable to be used as a tool for talisman making. Not only is the talismanic talent exceptional, advancing rapidly, but in critical moments, one can nourish talismans with blood to enhance their grade. If an ordinary loose cultivator awakened this blood talisman spiritual body, it might even unwittingly attract misfortune. As Lu Changsheng experienced the abilities of the blood talisman spiritual body, he thought to himself, talent is rare. But not all talents are valued and treasured. Like Bai Ling, she possessed a talent not inferior to a top-grade spiritual root. If she hadn't been picked up by chance, she might have perished at the hands of bandits. Such cases are far from uncommon in the cultivation world. Many people who gain a talent first think of maximizing benefits rather than nurturing it. After all, nurturing a person not only requires a huge investment in resources but also consideration of loyalty, among other factors. So, at the end of the day, it's still about power. Without power, existence is a sin. With me as a father, as long as Wang Shu awakens the blood talisman spiritual body and begins cultivation of the 99 mystical talisman scripture, becoming a 4th-rank talisman master in the future shouldn't be a problem. After awakening the blood talisman spiritual body and gaining a general understanding of it, Lu Changsheng also knew that this spiritual body could allow one to make strides on the talisman path, advancing to 3rd rank and even 4th rank talisman master. With the 99 mystical talisman scripture as his talismanic legacy, as long as his daughter was willing to learn, she would surely be able to develop the blood talisman spiritual body to its utmost potential, achieving the status of a 4th-rank talisman master. It's a pity this blood talisman spiritual body doesn't help with cultivation. If the blood talisman spiritual body also provided benefits for cultivation, then Wang Shu's future potential would be even higher, Lu Changsheng thought to himself. His son, Lu Qingshan's Gingjin body constitution, benefited the cultivation of metal attribute techniques. Even with a 6th-grade spiritual root, as long as he cultivated metal attribute techniques, his speed was not weaker than that of a top-grade spiritual root. But the blood talisman spiritual body lacked such enhancement effects. Thankfully, his daughter Lu Wangsha's spiritual root was not weak either, possessing a 4th-grade spiritual root. Otherwise, even with the blood talisman spiritual body, her cultivation would be hindered by her focus on talismans. But I have the 99 mystical talisman scripture. This talismanic cultivation technique, after condensing the life-bound divine talisman, both talisman making and casting talismans do offer cultivation benefits. In such a case, it's an indirect enhancement. Lu Changsheng thought of his 99 mystical talisman scripture. As an orthodox-level cultivation technique, it was naturally profound and infinite, allowing one's cultivation level and mastery over the talisman path to complement each other and progress side by side. This blood talisman spiritual body is related to that blood pattern in the Dantian. If I could thoroughly understand this blood pattern, trace and outline it to create a talisman, could it possibly enhance others' insights into the talisman path? Lu Changsheng suddenly had another thought. In the cultivation world, many formations, talismans, and even cultivation techniques are the result of studying and imitating the spiritual patterns manifested by the rules of heaven and earth. Like the blood pattern of the blood talisman spiritual body, it is also a manifestation of the rules of heaven and earth, incredibly arcane. If he could sketch it out, it might yield some of its effects. Such spiritual patterns, manifested from the rules of heaven and earth, are not so easily comprehended and understood. If one glance could uncover their mysteries, spiritual bodies wouldn't be so rare. Lu Changsheng shook his head, not dwelling on this thought any further. The blood pattern was extremely arcane. To comprehend and grasp it was as difficult as understanding the 81 spiritual patterns of the 99 mystical talisman scripture. It was not something he could grasp at his current level. Maybe after a few more steps in the talisman path, it would be worth research. Stepping out of the large vat, there was still about half a vat of spiritual blood left inside. Lu Changsheng didn't waste it. Chapter 424. Effects of the blood talisman spiritual body. 10,000 poisons devour the heart. He cast a cleansing technique to clean his body and, after dressing up, used the gourd to collect what was inside to feed the 6-winged golden silkworm. Such demon beast spiritual blood is simply not something ordinary energy-refining cultivators can withstand. If it's for awakening the blood talisman spiritual body in Wangshu, it absolutely cannot be done like this. When the time comes to go to Jiuxiao Immortal City, We also need to see if there is any second-rank spiritual blood with a gentle nature. Lu Changsheng looked at the spiritual blood gourd in his hand, murmuring inwardly. The process of awakening his spiritual body just now seemed simple. But this was because he had already achieved foundation establishment and had cultivated the 100 refinements treasure body art. If it were a regular energy refining cultivator, under the stimulation of the 3 types of spiritual blood, their meridians and dantian would probably be damaged. As for Lu Wangshu's blood talisman spiritual body, he planned to awaken it when the child was around 10 years old. At that time, Lu Wangshu would not be able to withstand such spiritual blood for body refinement. Therefore, it was necessary to find some kind of spiritual blood with a gentle attribute, and even one that would be beneficial after absorption, to activate the spiritual body. However, with more than a decade to go, Lu Changxing was not in a hurry. If it really couldn't be done, he would go to find the child's mother. He did not have a way to obtain it, but Xianxia had the channel of Qingyun sect, which would clearly make acquiring such second-rank spiritual blood much simpler. Just like the information related to the blood talisman spiritual body and the green jade Luan bird. He had consulted many references on this topic but had not found any relevant information. Yet, not long after Xianxia returned to Qingyun sect, she managed to find detailed information on these 2 items. This is the benefit of having the power of a sect. Lu Changsheng sighed. He deeply understood what it meant to enjoy the shade under a big tree. He then went over to the table, took out a talisman brush and talisman-making materials from the storage bag, and started drawing talismans. After awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, he felt an inexplicable proficiency in drawing talismans. It was as though the moment he picked up the brush, he knew he was a natural-born talisman path prodigy. Lu Changsheng effortlessly drew 2 second-rank talismans. Drawing second-rank talismans, I can't really feel the benefits brought by the blood talisman spiritual body. I must have a new talisman path inheritance for me to comprehend on my own, or draw 3rd-rank talismans, before I can truly experience the effects of the blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changsheng put away the talisman brush. Now for him, drawing second-rank talismans was as easy as eating and drinking. Only the yet-to-be-experienced 3rd-rank talismans could offer him some challenge. After leaving the courtyard, Lu Changxing went to check on his family's peace talisman hall. His son Lu Xianji was also there. Otherwise, he seldom visited this place before. But spending this time was worthwhile. Thanks to his early enlightenment teaching and the guidance over this year, Lu Xianji had made considerable progress in puppet mastery. He estimated that in another year or so, he would be able to create first-grade lower-quality puppets and thus qualify as a puppet master. By that time, Lu Changxing planned to open a shop in the Red Leaf Valley market. He would let him, along with Lu Chuanjin, Lu Rui, and his brother Lu Yun, manage the shop together. To personally get accustomed to the ins and outs of running a business. After all, in the future, when he established his own family, he would definitely engage in business. For this aspect, he certainly wouldn't have the time and energy to devote himself and would leave it to his wives and children to manage. And to entrust it to his children, it was natural to let them learn, experience, and understand as much as possible right now. This would also reveal whether the children had any talent in this area. If they did, they could develop further in this direction in the future. If not, they could be put in charge of other aspects. After all, in Lu Changsheng's vision, with so many inheritances, the family's future industry chain was also extensive. Therefore, his children could choose to develop in many different areas. Boss, all the supreme talismans in the store have been sold out. I was wondering if you could restock in these few days, as many customers have been inquiring. Gao He immediately spoke up upon seeing Lu Changsheng arriving. How come this month's supreme talismans sold out so fast? Lu Changsheng was somewhat surprised to hear this. Due to his influence, the Peace Talisman Hall was indeed doing well. The selling out of 1 second-rank Spirit Talisman and 10 Supreme Talismans each month was almost a given. It provided him with a substantial income every month. Because he often forgot about it, being away, he would store a few dozen Supreme Talismans with Gao He. He remembered that he had just restocked not long before, so how could they have sold out so quickly? It's said that 2 days ago in the Heiyun mountain range, a battle between two demons caused a mountain to collapse, resulting in a sky full of rosy light, suspected to be a relic and attracting many cultivators to explore. That's why there have been a lot of purchases of upper grade and supreme talismans, and a number of regular customers have also come to inquire, so I sold the previously stored stock. Gao He explained. A relic? Lu Changxing nodded slightly upon hearing this. He understood that such occurrences would attract swarms of cultivators seeking fortune and would boost sales of elixir medicines, talismans, and magic artifacts. All right, I will draw some extra talismans these few days. Lu Changxing nodded in response. Given this development, he was also willing to sell more talismans. One reason was to make money, and the other was to earn some reputation for the store. After all, at a time when other stores were out of stock, being able to restock would make customers think of his store first the next time they wanted to buy talismans. However, he had no interest in such so-called relics. He then cautioned his son Lu Xianji at the store to stay away from such relics. Absolutely not to get carried away exploring or let someone coax him into venturing into such places. Dad, there's no need for you to say more, I know. Chapter 425. Effects of the Blood Talisman Spiritual Body, 10,000 Poisons Devour the Heart. Moreover, only at the 4th level of energy refinement. Venturing into such ruins would be tantamount to courting death. Lu Xianji heard his father's words and cracked a smile. Good, as long as you know. Seeing his son was aware, Lu Changxing also nodded in relief. After all, stories of insignificant characters in the cultivation world stumbling upon adventures and rising to prominence occurred every day. He genuinely feared that his son, in a moment of folly, or after being coaxed by some robber cultivator, would run off on some escapade. Therefore, even if he had already advised him on this matter before, he still continued with his earnest admonitions. 5 Poisons Cult. Tianju Peak. In an antique and luxurious room, a multicolored spring pool emitted steaming purple mist. Neatly folded by the pool were snow-white silken garments with golden trim, a bodice embroidered with a purple phoenix, plain lingerie, and jade-white stockings. There was also a terrifying blood-colored spider, its entire body emitting a sinister red light. Within the multicolored spring, there was a breathtakingly beautiful girl with an ethereal demeanor. The beautiful girl's eyes were tightly closed, with only her head and jet-black hair floating on the water's surface. Xiao-chan, come to my great hall. Just then, a voice echoed in the girl's mind. Master? Meng Xiao-chan, upon hearing the voice, opened her eyes. She immediately stood up from the multicolored spring, utterly nude. In an instant, the perfection of the girl's figure was revealed without a doubt. Her slender waist seemed to ask for a gentle embrace, and her legs were straight and long. Her dark, smooth hair cascaded down, covering her pert buttocks shaped like a new moon. Her skin, still dotted with multicolored droplets, made her jade-like complexion even more sparklingly translucent and dazzling, as if her entire body was aglow. The girl floated up, her pale hand lightly lifting. The multicolored droplets slid off her skin, causing the clothes by the pool to fly up and dress her neatly. Meng Xiaochan, now clothed in purple, had an ethereal and elusive aura, just like that of a celestial fairy. This contrasted starkly with the terrifying blood-colored spider beside her. Exiting the room, Meng Xiaochan transformed into an escape light and arrived at a magnificent palace atop the peak, directly entering it. This great hall was exceedingly magnificent and splendid. The floor was paved with black jade that shone with a slick brightness, and the walls had elaborately carved beams and painted rafters. But the images all depicted snakes, spiders, butterflies, and all sorts of insects. The walls were further adorned with lamp fixtures shaped like spirit snakes, made of silver, which added a mysterious, eerie chill to the room. Bzz. Upon seeing Meng Xiaochan approach, a purple jade spider with over a dozen pairs of eyes by the ebony bed opened its eyes. I greet you, master. Meng Xiaochan, seeing this scene, remained composed and respectfully bowed to the ebony bed. Xiaochan, you're here, A languid, seductive voice came from within the purple gauze of the bed, bewitching to the soul. May I know why Master has summoned me here? Meng Xiaochan continued to speak. The purple gauze curtains slowly parted. On the ebony bed, a woman in a purple dress, around 28 or 29 years old, was lounging. Her face was stunningly beautiful and enchanting, her slender phoenix eyes appearing as though she had just woken from a dream, misty like blooming peach blossoms, her gaze fluid and compelling, with a bewitching power that could make one lose their soul. Her reclining posture revealed her alluring figure wrapped in the purple dress, accentuating an extraordinarily curvaceous body from head to toe, clear at a glance. Beneath the proud and prominent swell of her chest was a waist as delicate as a willow, leading down to her full and pert rear. The tantalizing curves were breathtaking, vaguely visible beneath the purple gauze, creating an allure of both concealment and revelation. Her two long, fair legs were slightly bent, enthralling like the tail of a serpent. Xiaochan, I remember you used to live in Jiang country, didn't you? Nangong Meili's luscious lips parted slightly, her voice irresistibly charming. Master, I have lived in Jiang country since I was young, Lu Changxing replied. Meng Xiaochan nodded. I have a task that requires a trip to Jiang country. In that case, you will accompany me when it is time to go. The woman in the purple dress rose from her ink jade bed with a languid elegance. A strand of black hair twirled past her ear and fell upon her ample and proud chest. The purple sheer dress fell, lightly covering her snow-white legs that resembled sculpted jade. To Jiang country? Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaochan felt a sudden pause in her heart. An involuntarily image of a man with a noble and handsome face, a tall and slender figure, swept into her mind like a willow in the breeze. That's right, you are currently at the bottleneck of the early stages of foundation establishment, so it's a good time for you to travel with me. This mission, if successful, will also be beneficial to you. It's an opportunity, Nangong Meili said softly, her voice sultry. Master, may I know what the task is? Meng Xiaochan asked. You'll know when the time comes. Nangong Meili's delicate steps moved nimbly as she came beside Meng Xiaochan, chuckling softly. Her voice was full of seductive charm. Or it could be said that her entire being exuded an enthralling seductiveness, capable of ensnaring souls and eroding bones, inciting temptation in the observer, fostering a desire to ravish her. Master, when do we leave? Meng Xiaochan asked, not pressing further. The command of a master is not to be disobeyed. Besides, Nangong Meili's personal involvement indicated that the mission was no simple affair. Moreover, considering the vast expanse of the Jiang country cultivation realm, as long as she didn't encounter him, going to Jiang country shouldn't pose a big problem. 1 month later, Nangong Meili said, her lips parting slightly as her jade-white fingers gently caressed Meng Xiaoquan's face. Yes, Master, Meng Xiaochan nodded in agreement. How is your progress with the myriad poisons devouring heart technique? The woman in the purple dress continued to inquire as she pinched her disciple's cheek. Please inspect it, Master, Meng Xiaochan replied, offering her fair wrist for examination. Her skin was exceptionally pale, yet Nangong Meili's complexion was even whiter. It was an unhealthy shade of white that added a certain sickly enchantment to her slender yet voluptuous figure, evoking pity and tenderness. Not bad, you truly deserve your title of the 1,000 strands myriad poisons body. Now, you have reached a minor completion of the poison body. If this mission is completed to perfection, I will apply for a heart-eating goo for you at the sect, Nangong Meili said, her enchanting face showing a faint smile, looking captivating. Thank you, Master. Upon hearing this, Meng Xiaoquan's face instantly lit up with joy. The 1,000 strands myriad poisons body is a type of spiritual body. The 5 poisons cult, incidentally, happens to have this spiritual body legacy. With a heart-eating goo, her myriad poisons devouring heart technique could reach major success. Not only would her mana be greatly enhanced by 50%, but her chances of achieving core formation would also increase by 50%, providing her with a high likelihood of attaining true elixir. It's a pity I lost the Lockhart goo. Otherwise, with it, to become the holy maiden of the 5 poisons cult, there would have been no need for all this trouble, Meng Xiaochan sighed softly to herself. She remembered the Lockhart goo that was now in Lu Changsheng's hands. This Lockhart goo was a top-level earth spirit goo, nearing the level of a heavenly spirit goo. Even within the Five Poisons cult, it was exceedingly rare. Chapter 426, Ruins Secret Realm, Second Rank Monster Core. _1. Before one knew it, half a month had passed. Because of the Black Cloud Mountain Range ruins, these days Lu Changsheng, besides drawing second-rank talismans, had also created quite a few supreme first-grade talismans. Not just him, Lu Miaoge had also been busy making talismans these days. After all, the Black Cloud Mountain Range was not far from the Red Leaf Valley Market. It was only a journey of 4,000 or 5,000 li. Therefore, many cultivators in the vicinity went to Black Cloud Mountain Range, hoping to try their luck. Moreover, after half a month's fermentation, the buzz about the Black Cloud Mountain ruins not only hadn't decreased in the slightest, but because of several news rumors that people had obtained ancient techniques, Foundation establishment spirit objects, and rare treasures from the ruins, the excitement intensified, attracting even more people. After all, for most cultivators, a cultivation technique or a Foundation establishment spirit object represented an incredible opportunity. They could pursue it all their lives and yet might not come across such fortune. Now that such ruins had emerged, naturally, they would not miss out. It was for this reason that the flow of people in the Red Leaf Valley Market had increased. Talismans, elixir medicines, and magic artifacts were selling like hotcakes, with prices rising by 30 to 40%, earning Lu Changsheng a tidy sum. Facing this situation, the four big families also pulled staff to increase patrols and tighten security in the Red Leaf Valley Market. To prevent robber cultivators that might be attracted by the Black Cloud Mountain Range ruins from seizing the opportunity to create chaos. After all, the previous incidents of robber cultivators causing trouble had left the four big families deeply shaken. During a chat with Lu Miaoge, Lu Changsheng learned that the Lu family, Bai family, Yu family, Zheng family, and many other local cultivation families had sent people to explore the ruins at Black Cloud Mountain. Cultivation is like crossing a river, 1,000 horses and 1,000 troops all competing for the sale. With such an opportunity presented, if they didn't vie for it, how could they ever succeed and make progress in their cultivation? Yet the Lu family ancestor, Lu Yuanzhong, still remained stationed in Qingzhou Mountain. He did not participate in exploring the ruins. The Yu family, Zheng family, and Bai family were the same. They were only small families. With just 1 or 2 Foundation establishment ancestors as their pillar, they dared not risk venturing out for opportunities. After all, they were not individuals but support pillars of their families. If any accident occurred, the whole family would be in trouble, facing catastrophic disaster. They could only send a few energy refinement late-stage cultivators to explore. However, Lu Changsheng heard that some Foundation establishment cultivators had already gone to explore the ruins. Qingyun sect has entered the scene? A few days later, while chatting with Lu Yuanling, Lu Changsheng learned that Qingyun sect had also made a move on the Black Cloud Mountain secret realm. That's right, it has now been confirmed that this ruin is a small secret realm, filled with numerous opportunities and treasures. Qingyun sect, of course, would not miss out, Lu Yuanling said. As the second elder of the Lu family and the person in charge of Red Leaf Valley Market, he was very focused on this kind of news. Once Qingyun sect steps in, the whole secret realm will belong to them. Lu Changsheng clicked his tongue. 4 loose cultivators and various powers, Qingyun sect's involvement was a completely different level of challenge. The other loose cultivators and forces simply had no chance. Not exactly, Qingyun sect hasn't sealed off the secret realm nor driven away loose cultivators and other forces. Lu Yuanling shook his head. Oh, so it seems Qingyun sect is quite generous, Lu Changsheng said, raising his eyebrows. He had assumed that Qingyun sect would directly seal off the secret realm and forbid others from entering. After all, if Qingyun sect did this, nobody else would have much to say, nor dare to object. Changsheng, you are still too young. It's not about Qingyun sect being generous. The hazards lurking within such a secret realm are undeniable, and Qingyun's sect naturally wouldn't want their own disciples to be the vanguard. Better to share a bit of the spoils, letting our families and loose cultivators act as the cannon fodder to explore, Lu Yuanling scoffed. At his age, and having been through much, he had a very clear understanding of these matters. Lu Changsheng suddenly understood the rationale upon hearing this. It's like the Purple Shadow secret realm controlled by the immortal sects. If they wholly relied on their own disciples for exploration, not only would the gains be limited, but they also risked losing disciples in the process. It was better to let loose cultivators and others join in. After all, any gains made inside would require sharing some of the spoils with the immortal sects. For loose cultivators and smaller forces, facing such secret realms and miraculous opportunities, trying to profit and gain advantages is quite difficult, Lu Changxing remarked. Every time he heard about such things, he felt deeply for the struggles of the lower-level cultivators in the cultivation world. Lacking extraordinary talent, achieving success in cultivation seemed almost too difficult. One could only gamble with fate continuously. At least I have the system, Lu Changxing thought to himself. With the system, he only needed to live a settled life, get married, take concubines, have children, and he would obtain countless opportunities and treasures that others could not reach in their lifetimes, thus making his path to immortality clear and smooth. At this moment, Lu Changsheng's thoughts inevitably turned to his friend in the distant Azure Phoenix Immortal City, Li Feiyu. Although the latter had not explained in detail, he knew that Li Feiyu's path involved hunting demon beasts, exploring ruins, and venturing into predecessors' caves, a life of taking risks. Just like these loose cultivators, a moment of carelessness could lead to an accident. In Jiang country, along the Myriad Beasts mountain range. This mountain range stretched endlessly, starting in the south of Jiang country and extending across a large part of the southern wilderness cultivation realm. It also served as a natural barrier between Jiang country and Yu country. Because the Myriad Beasts mountain range was full of demon beasts and grew many rare spiritual medicine and herbs, cultivators frequently entered the range to gain experience and hunt demon beasts. After all, for cultivators, every part of a demon beast was valuable. Flesh, fur, bones, all could fetch a good price. If one could come across young beasts or rare spirit grass, it would be an even bigger windfall. At this time, on the outskirts of the Myriad Beasts mountain range, 5 cultivators were besieging 2 blue serpentine demon beasts. Chapter 427, Ruins Secret Realm, Second Rank Monster Core. Both of these giant pythons were extremely massive. With a girth over a meter thick, their bodies radiated a powerful spiritual light, and their eyes flickered with a cold light, continuously spewing frosty air at the humans. Roar! One of the cultivators let out a fierce shout, emitting a lion-like roar that caused the attacking giant python to hesitate. Then a golden rope was thrown, binding one of the pythons, and he shouted loudly, "Oldly!" Immediately, a middle-aged man around 30, tall and wearing a black outfit, his face fierce, and wielding a red long saber, burst forth with rapid steps. His muscles bulged and the red long saber in his hand surged with a reddish glow as he ferociously chopped at the 7-inch vital part of the python. Clang! The blow was like thunder, powerful and domineering, shattering the python's protective spiritual light. Then it struck the azure snake scales, producing a metallic ring, and slightly cracked the scales. Hiss hiss hiss! The giant python roared angrily, its body flaring with spiritual light, and suddenly lashed its tail, striking the man in the black outfit. Boom! The man in the black outfit, along with his saber, was sent flying backward, crashing into a large tree in the distance and toppling it over. Luckily, at the critical moment his protective aura surged, warding off most of the damage, and he was not gravely injured. Now's the chance kill! Seeing this, the 3 that were entangled with the other giant python also simultaneously wielded their magic artifacts, cast their techniques, and turned their attention towards the python whose protective spiritual light had been broken. Ao ao ao! Under the overwhelming onslaught, the giant python threw its head back and screamed pitifully. Such roars made the other giant python nearly go mad. But these 5 people clearly had experience dealing with demon beasts. In this situation, they did not opt to keep up a frontal assault, but instead kept up the entanglement. After grinding one python to death, they only then started to confront the other python head-on and gradually killed it. This haul isn't bad. The materials from these 2 azure blood pythons can sell for quite a bit of money, said an older man with gray hair, wearing a gray robe. These 2 azure blood pythons seem to be a pair. I wonder if they laid eggs. If they did lay eggs, then we've struck it rich, remarked a middle-aged woman in a red robe. Laying eggs, what are you thinking? We can't be that lucky, a man in a blue robe said, shaking his head. Following that, the group made their way towards the cave of the 2 azure blood pythons. These demon beasts live in the mountains, and if they encounter treasures, remains of cultivators, bodies of other demon beasts, or even spiritual medicine and herbs, they would bring them back to their caves. Hence, sometimes after killing a demon beast, exploring its cave can yield unexpected treasures. There actually are eggs, 8 azure blood python eggs. The woman in the red robe saw something deep in the cave, her eyes lighting up as she exclaimed with surprise. What really? These 8 azure blood python eggs could sell for 400 to 500 spirit stones. We've made a fortune with this haul. Upon hearing this, the others looked at the eggs, their eyes revealing surprise and delight. For them, 400 to 500 spirit stones split amongst them meant that each would receive roughly 100 spirit stones. A considerable profit indeed. However, the old man in the gray robe fixated on a dark gray, dull-looking core at that moment. Upon seeing the dull-colored core, his slightly murky eyes widened, and his throat felt somewhat dry. Xiaobo, what are you looking at? The woman in the red robe noticed the old man in gray robe staring motionlessly and asked aloud. Then she followed his gaze, and suddenly her eyes landed on the dark core. This is a monster core. The woman in the red robe exclaimed. A monster core, similar to the Dao foundation of cultivators of the human race, is the core that stores mana. However, not all second-rank demon beasts possess a monster core. Only some rare or particularly powerful second-rank demon beasts have a monster core. Because a monster core signifies that the demon beast has the potential to advance to 3rd rank. If it advances to 3rd rank, the monster core will also transform into a demon core, comparable to the true elixir or golden core of nascent soul cultivators. Now, inside the lair of the azure blood python, a monster core had appeared. Although it looked like a lot of its energy had dissipated, it was still worth a fortune. The addition of 8 azure blood python eggs and a monster core suddenly made the atmosphere within the cave tense. After all, wealth stirs human hearts. The 5 of them often cooperated in hunting demon beasts but did not have much of a relationship beyond that. The appearance of such a great benefit naturally led to thoughts arising in their minds. This monster core could probably sell for 2,000 to 3,000 spirit stones. Once sold, each of us could get at least 500 to 600 spirit stones, the old man in the gray robe said to the others. Upon hearing this, the others showed expressions of delight. This amount of spirit stones was no small sum. Who should hold this monster core? The man in the green robe asked somberly. For something like the azure blood python, they could directly process the carcass as material and divide its value equally among them. The same went for the snake eggs. The extra 3 snake eggs would be converted into spirit stones. But a priceless monster core like this couldn't be dealt with in the same way. As soon as these words were spoken, the atmosphere in the cave tensed up again. What's going on? I feel so dizzy. At that moment, the woman in the red robe suddenly clutched her forehead and staggered. Not good, there's poison. The man in the green robe, trembling, also sensed that something was wrong. Who poisoned us? The man in black, looking ferocious, shuddered and stumbled as he barked out the question. Turning to the old man in the gray robe, the elegantly dressed middle-aged man accused coldly, "Old Xiao, you're the one who poisoned us." As he spoke, he formed a spiritual energy shield around himself, attempting to block out the poison. Yao Dao friend, you actually have an anti-poison artifact. Chapter 428, Ruin's Secret Realm, Second Rank Monster Core. The elderly man in a gray robe looked at the refined gentleman with some surprise. His soul-severing powder was colorless and tasteless. Unless one had divine sense, ordinary cultivators couldn't detect it. So the fact that the refined gentleman hadn't been poisoned meant that he must possess some kind of poison-resistant treasure. Upon hearing this, the other three glared angrily at the elderly man in the gray robe. But at this moment, they could no longer speak, swaying as if about to fall, coughing up blood, and collapsing to the ground. "Yao, fellow Daoist, I'm afraid your treasure can't completely block my soul-severing powder. You should hurry and leave while you can," the gray-robed elder continued to speak, his voice unhurried. "Very well, Yao acknowledges his defeat," said the refined gentleman upon hearing this, well aware that he was no match for the gray-robed elder. He cautiously eyed the gray-robed elder and slowly backed out of the cave. Wait a moment. Just as the refined gentleman was about to leave, the gray-robed elder suddenly called out to stop him. He said, "Yao, fellow Daoist, take these few snake eggs with you. In return, let's consider this matter settled. How does that sound?" No need. Although tempted, Yao, fellow Daoist didn't dare to stay longer and quickly departed. But just then, Pucci, a streak of purple light streaked out from the sleeve of the gray-robed elder. It was a thunder talisman, aimed to strike the refined gentleman. At the same time, a golden cone-shaped magic artifact was deployed, transforming into a streak of golden light aiming for the refined gentleman. How could he possibly let someone escape under such circumstances? If word got out, he might be ambushed before he could even get back to Azure Phoenix Immortal City. After all, within the Myriad Beasts mountain range, not only demon beasts were dangerous, but other cultivators also had to be guarded against. That was also why many cultivators formed teams to enter the Myriad Beasts mountain range. It wasn't just because the mountains were perilous, but also because they feared being exhausted after exiting the range and then encountering robber cultivators. Boom, boom, boom. Facing the onslaught of the gray-robed elder, the refined gentleman immediately deployed a small earthen yellow shield. However, under the bombardment of the attack, the spiritual energy shield around him swiftly dimmed, and he felt poison entering his body. Just as the elder had said, he did have a poison-resistant treasure. But it was just an ordinary item and couldn't continuously block the enemy's poison. Puck, the gray-robed elder kept attacking. The refined gentleman knew he was no match for the elder, and retreated incessantly, fleeing the cave dwelling. But the gray-robed elder pursued without delay. Just as the two had barely left the cave and the man in black who was poisoned and had fainted opened his eyes. "Such a formidable poison, colorless, tasteless, without a trace," he murmured. "If I hadn't cultivated the profound body refinement technique, I might have fallen here," said Li Feiyu, his expression serious. He had noticed something off about the elder immediate and sensed something was amiss. He promptly sealed his pores to stop breathing. But the poison was indeed formidable, colorless, tasteless, and left no trace. If he hadn't cultivated his body refinement technique to the 3rd level, with his flesh almost as tough as someone in the energy refinement late stage coupled with some resistance to poison, he would have been done for there. He didn't delay. He took out a detoxification pill from his storage bag, swallowed it, and began to purge the poison from his system. Then he held a talisman in his hand and continued to feign death, waiting for the gray-robed elder to return. Before long, the gray-robed elder hurried back to the cave. His breathing was slightly disordered. In order to finish off the refined gentleman quickly, he had held nothing back. "After this expedition, I can stop living this blood-shedding life," the gray-robed elder muttered, holding a second-rank monster core in his hand, his face showing delight. He was already over 60 and long past the possibility of foundation establishment. Now his hunting of demon beasts was for the sake of his descendants. However, at that moment, he suddenly sensed a scorching heat and a sharpness. Not good. The gray-robed elder subconsciously tried to form a spiritual energy shield. But the hastily constructed shield was immediately shattered by the fire talisman and the fierce and domineering blade aura. In the next instant, "Puck," the sound of a blade piercing flesh could be heard. As the gray-robed elder's field of vision tumbled, he fell from the air and saw a headless corpse. It was his own corpse. And standing behind the body was a robust man dressed in black, holding a red long blade. How is he not dead? With shock and unwillingness, the gray-robed elder's consciousness plunged into endless darkness. Huff! After slaying the gray-robed elder with a single cut, Li Feiyu exhaled deeply. The situation had been extremely tense for him as well. After all, the elder had a 9th-level energy refinement cultivation, while he was only at the mid-stage. His only reliance was his body refinement technique, which was at the level of the late energy refinement. He quickly collected the storage bags of several people in the cave. He then used the flame bullet technique to reduce the bodies to ashes. It might be dangerous to return to Azure Phoenix Immortal City alone, he mused. This monster core might just allow me to break through the bottleneck of the energy refinement late stage, he considered. With both the cultivation from the energy refinement late stage and my body refinement technique, I stand a better chance of making it back to Azure Phoenix Immortal City safely, Li Feiyu speculated, his gaze intense as he looked at the gray monster core in his hand. Demon beast crystal cores were mostly violent in nature. If a cultivator absorbed it directly, not only would much of the energy be wasted, but it could also injure the body. It was nowhere as effective as refining it into elixir medicines. But given the circumstances, Li Feiyu could not afford to care about that. As for the incident at the Black Cloud Mountain Range's secret realm, other than earning a tidy sum, it hadn't affected Lu Changsheng's daily life much. He spent most of his days now on talisman making, drawing second-rank talismans in preparation for his journey to Jiuxiao Immortal City. After nearly a year, he managed to save up almost 100 second-rank spirit talismans, enough to form a talisman refinement formation capable of blasting away cultivators at the Foundation establishment late stage, or even those with a false core. But when it came to making a talisman formation, one can never have too many talismans. The more talismans there are, the greater the power of the talisman formation. Chapter 429. Ruin's Secret Realm, Second Rank Monster Core. _4. Lu Changxing was not in a hurry to head to Jiuxiao Immortal City, so he prepared to stock up on more talismans to carry with him. Moreover, this trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City would be a long journey, and the round trip would take quite some time. He estimated that it would cost him half a year, or even a year. Therefore, he also needed to make proper arrangements for the matters afterward. He prepared in advance all the talismans supplied by his family's spiritual talisman shop and those provided to the Lu family. Just like that, 3 months passed in a blink of an eye. Boom! That day, Lu Changxing felt a surge of qi flow into his body. He knew that his son, Lu Chuanjin, had made a breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement. Now each of his children was waiting for their breakthrough to the middle stage of qi refinement, then to go out and gain experience. Lu Changxing returned to Qingzhou Mountain and made arrangements for Lu Chuanjin. This son was competitive in nature and wanted to venture out on his own. Therefore, Lu Changxing did not arrange for him to experience life in the marketplace. Instead, he sent him to the secular world to mix with Hong Yi. Now, Hong Yi had become the crown prince of Marquis of Rui. He was in charge of all the large and small affairs of Rui Prefecture. Not only did he have to deal with the martial world in Jianghu, but also the disturbances of parasitic cultivators in the secular world. So, sending his son to the secular world not only allowed him to experience the martial world and Jianghu, secular cultivation, and broaden his horizons but also ensured he wouldn't encounter too much danger. Brother Lu, rest assured, I will take good care of Chuanjin, your esteemed nephew, Hong Yi said to Lu Changxing as he readily agreed to take the son with him for experience. Then he turned to a 12 or 13-year-old boy dressed in an embroidered robe and with an extraordinary bearing next to him and said, Xuanji, get along well with your brother Chuanjin in the future, treat each other like brothers and support each other. This young boy was named Hong Xuanji, the 6th son of Hong Yi, with a 7th grade spiritual root, and was deeply adored by Hong Yi. Yes, father. Hong Xuanji nodded in response to his father's words. He knew that his father's current position had a lot to do with Uncle Lu. Moreover, the present Lu Chuanjun, who was only 3 years older than him but had already reached the middle stage of qi refinement, would be a valuable association for the future. Chuanjun, you must listen to your Uncle Hong in the future. If anything happens, just write a letter back home. On ordinary days, remember to write to your mother, and when you have time, come home to visit, and also go to see your sister. On the side, Chu Zhenshin's eyes were red, and she said to her son with a face full of reluctance. Even though her son was grown up, he was still a child in her eyes, and she was very worried about him going to the secular world to make his way. Mother, don't worry, I understand, Lu Chuanjun said, looking at his mother's expression with a hint of helplessness on his face. He then spoke to reassure her that he would definitely be careful, write home when he had time, bring his sister to visit, and asked his mother to be at ease. Lu Changxing watched this scene, the corner of his mouth twitching slightly. He wondered how Lu Quanzhen's character had been formed. Although he had taught his son, most of the time it was Chu Zhenjin who did the teaching. Yet Chu Zhenjin, when it came to children, though not indulgent, could hardly bear to scold or reprimand them. Sometimes, even lecturing the children would make herself feel aggrieved, feeling that it was her fault for not teaching well. So seeing that his son Lu Chuanjun had a mature and decisive character, Lu Changxing also did not know how it came to be. It could only be said that some children's temperaments might be influenced innate to some extent. Zhenjin, as long as you want, we can come and see Chuanjun often, Lu Changxing said to his wife. After settling down Lu Chuanjun, Lu Changxing also took Chu Zhenjin to stay at the Lu residence for a while. His eldest son, Lu Pingan, had experienced a year with the Crimson Whale Gang before really going out on his own to wander the Jianghu, and he had not yet returned. His second son, Lu Wuyu, had gone to a county in Nanyu Prefecture to become a county magistrate, arranged by Hong Yi. His daughter, Lu Wuyo, also clamored every day about becoming a female hero and venturing into the Jianghu, but her mother Lu Zier wouldn't allow it. And Lu Changxing, fearing his daughter would be at a disadvantage, acted as if he didn't know about it and did not agree to his daughter going out to venture. Now that Lu Changxing and Chu Zhenjin had come to the Lu residence, his wife Lu Lanshu, Lu Qing'er, Lu Zier, and other concubines also talked with Lu Changxing about their children's marriage affairs. Like Lu Wuyo, Lu Wuyu, and Lu Shila, these children were all 17 or 18 years old, the age for marriage, and it was time to consider matchmaking. Regarding this matter, Lu Changxing also felt quite emotional. He still vividly remembered the birth of these children. Unknowingly, they had grown up and were about to get married. In this regard, he let Lu Lanshu, Lu Qing'er, Lu Zier, and others handle the arrangements. But the marriage should be agreed upon by his children. After all, given his current situation, there was no need to consider weighing benefits in his children's marriages. The main thing was to let the children be happy and like it, and choose for themselves. Chapter 430. Mount Sumeru Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. _1. Lu Changxing and Chu Zhenjin stayed in Rui Prefecture for a little over a month. During this period, the marriage of their son, Lu Wuyu, was also settled. The other party was the daughter of Li Feiyu, Li Shui. Previously, Lu Lanshu had wanted her son, Lu Pingan, to marry Li Shui. One reason was that Li Shui's appearance, looks, and personality were all good. Additionally, they had watched her grow up. Furthermore, Lu Changxing and Li Feiyu were good friends, so naturally, they thought about matching the two. However, since Lu Pingan had no such intentions and had gone away, Lu Qing'er then began to inquire about the relationship between her son, Lu Wuyu, and Li Shui. Regarding this marriage arrangement, both Lu Wuyu and Li Shui had no objections and were mutually satisfied. Seeing that both of them agreed, Lu Changxing decided on the matter. Most marriages in this world were like this. There were not so many cases of mutual affection between couples. Being mutually satisfied was already considered quite good. Immediately, the two families arranged the marriage, selected an auspicious date, and planned to hold the wedding in half a year. During the engagement, Lu Changxing also met Li Feiyu's father, Li Jingyang. 16 years had passed, and the once valiant and imposing leader of the Crimson Whale Gang had become an old man with graying hair. His face bore traces of illness. "I pay my respects to Uncle Li." Lu Changsheng approached and greeted him. "I pay my respects to Immortal Master Lu." Li Zhengyang looked at the man before him, still handsome and appearing to be in his 20s, who had seemed even more otherworldly and immortal than he did more than a decade ago, and respectfully bowed. When Lu Changxing first arrived at the Crimson Whale Gang, he immediately realized Lu Changxing was destined for great things. Now, more than a decade later, his hunch had been confirmed. It was evident from the respect shown to Immortal Master Lu by the Marquis of Rui, the Crown Prince of Rui, and the loose cultivators attending the engagement banquet. "Fei Yu and I are good friends, and now that my son Wu Yu and Shuer are engaged to become relatives by marriage, it's a matter of close kinship, so Uncle Li need not be so courteous with me. Just call me Changxing," Lu Changxing said to Li Xingyang with a smile. Li Xingyang saw that Lu Changxing had none of the airs of an immortal master and was touched in his heart. He thought to himself that his son had made a good friend. Li Xingyang then addressed Lu Changxing as his wise nephew and introduced his eldest son, Li Feihong, who was the current leader of the Crimson Whale Gang. During their casual conversation, the matter of marriage was confirmed, and Li Xingyang also inquired about Li Feiyu's situation. When Li Feiyu had left, he had only briefly mentioned that he was heading to the cultivation world to make his own way, without saying much more. When faced with this topic, Lu Changxing only mentioned that Li Feiyu was fine and was cultivating in an immortal city. He then presented Li Xingyang with a bottle of healing pills. He could tell that Li Xingyang must have either overexerted himself in martial training when he was young or suffered some internal injury, leading to his poor health now. This engagement banquet brought much joy to the Lu residents. After all, it was the Lu family's first engagement and wedding preparations. "I wonder how Pingon is doing. It's been over a year, and he hasn't even written a letter home." Seeing that Lu Wuyu had become engaged and would be married in half a year, Lu Lanshu began to mention her son Lu Pingon. "Pingon said he would be out for at most 3 years, so I estimate he will return in another year or two," Lu Changxing voiced comfortingly. He knew that his wife was still not in agreement with Lu Pingon going away. Her mention of it now made him think of his eldest son as well. He wondered where Lu Pingon was traveling now and how his journey was going. In Jiang Country, Jiangzhou, Guanglin County. "That white tiger demon must be on this mountain, right?" As Lu Pingon passed through a village, he heard that there was a white tiger living on the mountain that frequently attacked humans. It had scared the villagers to the point where they dared not go into the mountains to hunt anymore. So, he decided to take a look and rid the people of this threat. As he reached the middle of the mountain, he heard a deafening roar from a fierce beast. He rushed towards the sound in the mountains. In a short while, he saw a ferocious white tiger, about 3 meters tall, chasing after a girl clothed in black. But this was not a one-sided pursuit. The girl in black was a cultivator. As she ran, she controlled a pitch-black flying sword, attacking the white tiger. This caused the white tiger to be covered in blood and maddened with rage, lashing out to bite anyone it could. "This white tiger must be the white tiger demon the villagers spoke of. It seems to have truly become a demon beast," exclaimed Lu Pingon upon seeing such a ferocious creature. He realized that this white tiger had evolved beyond a mere wild beast and had become a demon beast. However, the Jiuyo hound he usually fed was much more ferocious than this white tiger. Therefore, seeing this fearsome white tiger did not frighten him in the least. "Be careful!" At that moment, he saw the white tiger's chilling claws pin down the girl's flying sword. Then its tail suddenly lengthened, stretching out like a long stick, swinging horizontally toward the girl. Taken by surprise by this sudden strike, the girl was hit hard and sent flying backwards with a muffled groan. Seeing his chance, the white tiger opened its gaping jaws and leapt towards the girl in black. "No good!" Lu Pingon acted quickly, taking a fire blast talisman from his chest, focusing his energy, and turning the talisman into a blazing projectile, shooting it towards the white tiger. Bang! The fire blast hit the white tiger with precision. It plunged to the ground with a thump, letting out a mournful howl, its body scorched by the blast, its flesh torn and skin charred. Roar! With its body blackened and oozing blood, its eyes glowing red with fury, the white tiger turned its gaze on Lu Pingon and roared angrily, charging at him. Secret technique, primordial chaos extreme. Facing the pouncing white tiger, Lu Pingon immediately took out a golden light insignia, making golden light appear all around his body. Then, as he roared, the muscles of his entire body were activated with powerful energy, and he launched a fierce punch. Boom! The white tiger's attack caused Lu Pingan's legs to sink, and the golden light around his body dimmed. Chapter 431. Mount Sumeru Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. But Lu Pingan's terrifyingly powerful punch also made the white tiger wail, a sound of bones shattering echoing within its body. Die! At that moment, the girl seized the opportunity, forming seals with her hands, causing her flying sword to burst forth with sharp energy, slashing toward the white tiger's neck. She aimed to decapitate the white tiger with a single sword stroke. Pitif! However, the flying sword failed to sever the head, the blade stuck in the white tiger's bones, causing it to howl in pain and struggle in the throes of death. Secret technique, primordial chaos extreme. Seeing this, Lu Pingan's true chi surged within him. He took a step forward, his fists like twin dragons leaving the sea, pummeling the white tiger with relentless force. 1 punch. 2 punches. 3 punches. Boom, boom, boom. A moment later, the white tiger wailed, its eyes dimming. Hello, thank you for your help. My father's surname is Qin, my mother's surname is Yi, so my name is Qin Yi. The girl in black stepped forward, looked at Lu Pingon, and said with an expressionless face. Upon hearing this self-introduction, Lu Pingon grinned and replied, Hello, my dad's surname is Lu, my mom's surname is also Lu, so, my name is Lu Pingon. The girl, previously without expression, suddenly smiled at these words. But the laughter caused the blood in her body to roll and surge, cough cough cough, spitting out fresh blood. The blow from the white tiger had been hard on her as well. Miss, are you all right? I have some medicine for healing here. Seeing this, Lu Pingon took out a porcelain bottle from his bag, poured out an elixir medicine, and handed it to the girl. You used 2 talismans to save me just now, I already owe you a favor. So I can't take this spirit pill, and I don't have money to repay you. The girl in black instantly recognized that this was not a mundane elixir medicine but a spirit pill. She thought to herself, what kind of a naive boy is this? A man without any signs of spiritual power, a martial artist, yet possessing talismans and elixir medicines. Moreover, a complete stranger, and yet he casually took them out to help. One should help out in the face of injustice. Miss, you don't have to worry about it. You need not repay for the pill either. Lu Pingon grinned and waved it off with his hand. Upon hearing this, the girl in black looked at the Lu Pingon before her, her face showing a hint of conflict and distress. Then she firmly said, I, Qin Yi, do not owe anyone favors. I will accept this spirit pill. You take the white tiger, and with this, we are even. I said there's no need to repay, and besides, what would I want with the carcass of the white tiger? Lu Pingon shook his head. This white tiger demon could sell for more than 20 spirit stones, and you're saying you don't want it? Aren't you here specifically to hunt this white tiger demon? The girl asked with a somewhat astonished expression upon hearing this. No, I came to the mountain because I heard from the villagers that there was a white tiger great demon eating people. I wanted to see for myself and thought of getting rid of the white tiger, so the villagers could hunt with peace of mind, said Lu Pingon with a smile. Hearing this, the girl in black looked at the Lu Pingon before her as if she was looking at an idiot. She didn't expect that such people existed in the world. A stranger to her but willing to use expensive talismans to help, and even offering elixir medicines for free. And the reason he ventured up the mountain was because he heard about a white tiger eating people. Regardless, I, Qin Yi, do not owe people favors, and you should take this white tiger demon so that we are square, she continued to say, her face tight and devoid of expression. She had already pegged Lu Pingon as a fool from a landowner's family and did not want to take advantage of an idiot. "Miss, you said this white tiger demon is worth more than 20 spirit stones. My elixir medicines and talismans are not worth this much. If you feel uneasy about it in your heart, just sell the demon and give me the equivalent in spirit stones." Seeing the girl was resolute, Lu Pingon suggested this. Having experienced life in the Crimson Whale Gang and his interactions with Hong Yi, he had come to know some basic information about the prices in the cultivation world. He knew his 2 talismans and 1 elixir medicine were worth about 7 spirit stones. The girl felt tempted upon hearing this. She had expended a lot of time and effort trying to hunt down this white tiger demon. Moreover, she couldn't bear to hand over all the spirit stones she obtained to someone else. If they were to split the proceeds now, at least she would gain something. And she wouldn't need to feel like she owed a favor. "Fine, there's a gathering spot for loose cultivators on Kanjia Mountain about 500 miles from here," she said. "Come with me and I'll sell the white tiger demon there. We can split the spirit stones. If it's inconvenient for you, just give me an address, and I'll deliver the spirit stones to you later," she offered crisply. "A gathering spot for loose cultivators? All right, I'll go with you." Lu Pingan's eyes lit up at this. He had always held a deep fascination for cultivation, harboring intense interest in it. It was only because he knew he had no spiritual root and thus no opportunity for cultivation that he never mentioned it back at home. Now, hearing the girl mention a market for loose cultivators immediately sparked his curiosity, and he wanted to see for himself. Soon after, once the girl had rested and healed her wounds, the two set off together. Time flew swiftly, and in the blink of an eye, half a year passed. 2 months prior, the once bustling rumors about the Black Cloud Mountain ruins had also died down. This had been only a small secret realm. And within half a year, it had been completely scavenged, left as a desolate wasteland. The Lu family's venture into this secret realm had not been fruitful, and they had suffered losses including 1 energy refinement late stage and 1 energy refinement middle stage cultivator, a not insignificant setback. However, Lu Changsheng had heard from Lu Yuanding that the Bai family had quite the harvest from this expedition. It was even possible that they would witness the birth of a new foundation establishment. The Lu family was pleased to hear this. After all, the Bai family and the Lu family had a friendly relationship. Now, as the Bai family ancestors' lifespan was dwindling with only a bit more than 10 years left, if a new foundation establishment did not emerge, they would face the same peril that the Lu family once did. Chapter 432, Mount Sumeru Tree King, a cave heaven unto himself. And the cooperation of the 4 major establishments in Red Leaf Valley Market will also face problems because of this. Congratulations to the host for reaching a progeny count of 150. You have been awarded an advanced level draw. On this day, Lu Changsheng's 150th child was born. This child did not have a spiritual root. But as this child was born, a system prompt sounded. Advanced draw. When Lu Changsheng heard this system prompt, his heart surged with surprise. He had previously thought that he would need 200 children to qualify for the draw based on the quantity of his offspring. He did not expect that 150 would suffice. And it was an advanced draw, no less. This made him extremely pleased. After all, from a previous advanced draw, he had obtained a heaven-reaching spiritual treasure. Although this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure was somewhat lacking, without an artifact spirit, it was still a heaven-reaching spiritual treasure. It had greatly expedited his progress with the 100 treasures body refinement technique, and he estimated that in another year's time, he would be able to break through to the 5th layer. At that time, he would be able to refine this heaven-reaching spiritual treasure and transform it into his life-bound treasured bone. System, draw. Without further thought, Lu Changsheng inwardly chanted. He wanted to see what he could obtain from this advanced draw. After all, ordinary draws were now hardly surprising to him. Instantly, an advanced draw wheel with only 4 options emerged. As Lu Changsheng's mental spirit slightly stirred, the draw immediately commenced. Before long, the golden light slowly diminished, eventually stopping on the spiritual pet treasure section. Another spiritual pet treasure? Lu Changsheng's heart skipped a beat as the golden light halted. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the spiritual pet, Mount Sumeru Tree King. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. The host can inspect it at any time. A divine tree pattern, resplendent with gold and jade, shimmering with the light of dawn, emerged from the draw wheel, accompanied by a system prompt. Spiritual pet, Mount Sumeru Tree King? Lu Changsheng furrowed his brows slightly when he saw the reward from his draw. He immediately realized that he must have drawn a spiritual pet related to the celestial and earthly spirit plants. I wonder if this Mount Sumeru Tree King, like the 9 netherhound and 6-winged golden silkworm, requires my nurturing, he mused. If it requires my nurturing even with a true spirit bloodline, it would be quite useless to me at the moment. Lu Changsheng pondered as he looked at his draw reward. The 9 netherhound he obtained from his first draw was still a first-grade middle-stage demon beast. It was estimated that it would take another 1 or 2 years to advance to the late stage of the first grade. Even though the fighting prowess of the 9 netherhound far surpassed that of other demon beasts of the same grade, it could only serve as the guardian spiritual beast of the secular Lu residence. The 6-winged golden silkworm he drew the second time had slightly more combat power than the 9 netherhound, but there was no telling how long it would take to grow its second pair of wings. Having raised it for 8 or 9 years now, its combat power was still at the peak of the first grade. Therefore, Lu Changsheng didn't harbor too many thoughts about spiritual pets. His mental spirit stirred slightly as he looked towards the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system space. Spiritual pet, Mount Sumeru Tree King. Grade, Lower True Spirit. Description: in ancient times, the Lotus Lamp Buddha obtained a half-branch of the world tree and planted it on Mount Sumeru, nurturing it to life. It currently possesses the strength of the 3rd rank, harbors a world within its body, forming its own cave heaven, and thrives continuously. Hiss! Lu Changsheng was taken aback as he read the description of the Mount Sumeru Tree King. A strength of the 3rd rank meant that this Mount Sumeru Tree King did not require slow nurturing like the 9 netherhound or the 6-winged golden silkworm. It had the strength of the core formation stage right away. Not only that, this Mount Sumeru Tree King also harbored a world within its body, forming its own cave heaven, thriving continuously. This ability genuinely excited Lu Changsheng. In the cultivation world, there is a kind of treasure known as cave heaven treasure. Such a treasure constitutes its own space and can be fashioned into a small secret realm like cave heaven, housing cultivators and spiritual beasts. It can even nurture treasures like the spiritual eye spring to form spirit veins, allowing cultivation within, as well as the planting of spiritual medicine and spirit fields, serving as a mobile dwelling. And now, this Mount Sumeru Tree King possessed such an effect, harboring a world within its body, inherently forming a cave heaven. The cave heaven inside the body of the Mount Sumeru Tree King can completely serve as the core land for our future family. It's just uncertain whether this Mount Sumeru Tree King can currently transform. If it can't transform, then we must find a piece of land rich in spirit veins to plant this Mount Sumeru Tree King. Moreover, the strength of this Mount Sumeru Tree King requires a high grade of spirit veins, at least 2nd rank, or even 3rd rank spirit vein. Lu Changsheng looked at the Mount Sumeru Tree King in the system space but did not extract it. Just looking at the description alone, he felt that this tree was many times larger than the luminous treasure tree he had obtained before. Once extracted, it would be revealed outright. If it couldn't transform and move, such a heavenly spirit plant, once noticed, would likely shake the entire Qingyun sect and the cultivation world of Jiang country. Moreover, the higher the grade of the demon beast, the harder it is to transform, so he felt that this Mount Sumeru Tree King probably couldn't transform. It seems that securing the spirit land and establishing the family must be accelerated. Only by establishing our own family and owning our own family spirit land can we conveniently release this Mount Sumeru Tree King. And by then, having a great demon at the core formation stage in the family will allow us to develop with peace of mind. Lu Changsheng took a deep breath and exhaled long. He knew that this Mount Summer Tree King must be planted at his home and then hidden well with a formation. Otherwise, such a plant could easily attract trouble. Shiyu had sent a letter before, asking if I wanted to participate in the 100 Arts Conference, and I chose to defer. It seems that at the next 100 Arts Conference, I must enter the Qingyun sect in this way, and then see if I can obtain a top-quality spirit land through the sect. Lu Changsheng murmured to himself. For acquiring the family spirit land, he still preferred to go through Qingyun sect. See if he could obtain a top-quality spirit land through the sect. If that didn't work out, then he would consider the Red Leaf Valley market. After all, with so much effort and many family powers settling in the Red Leaf Valley market now, it wouldn't be easy to secure it through the Lu family without paying a significant price. I've already stored over 200 second-rank talismans, and the spirit talismans for the Lu family and the Peace Talisman Hall are also ready. After Wai's wedding, I can almost set out for Jiuxiao Immortal City. In Jiuxiao Immortal City, after completing the procurement of materials for the 99 Mysterious True Strategy, 3rd-rank talisman materials, and 2nd-rank alchemy materials, my overall strength will also rise to another level. When I return, Sister Miaoge will also be almost ready for foundation establishment. I can also take this opportunity to state outwardly that this trip is to go to the Immortal City for foundation establishment, thus revealing my foundation establishment strength. Afterwards, through Shiyu, get the slot to participate in the 100 Arts Conference, enter Qingyun sect, and secure spirit land. By then, the children at home should almost be ready to manage the family affairs for their old father. Regarding the establishment of the family, we only lack an array now. If we still haven't drawn an array by then, I'll hire an array master from Qingyun sect and then study some simple formations myself. Lu Changsheng was calculating his future plans in his mind. Through half a year of talisman making, he had stored over 200 second-rank spirit talismans on his person. Due to material reasons, most of these talismans were of low and middle grade, with only a small portion being superior grade talisman. But it was already sufficient. If all these talismans were to be used, Lu Changsheng felt that even a false core immortal would certainly meet their death. So this trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City for a major procurement would basically be free of danger. There's still half a month until Wai's wedding day. I should almost head over. Lu Changsheng stopped pondering and rose from his study. In the courtyard, Lu Miaoyun and her children were feeding a big bird that was pure like green jade. This bird was the green jade Luan bird that had hatched not long ago. Since it had just been born, it couldn't serve as a mount in the short term. So Lu Changsheng candidly gifted it to Lu Miaoyun, to her delight, and to the envy of Chu Zhenzhen, Lu Miaohuan, and the others. Yuner, since Wai's wedding day is approaching, call Zhenzhen and Huan over, and let's all go together, Lu Changsheng said to Lu Miaoyun. After all, it was his son's first wedding. As a father, he naturally had to attend the wedding. And with Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenzhen, and Lu Miaohuan being the principal wives, he felt it was appropriate for them to be involved in such an occasion as well. Yes, husband. Hearing this, Lu Miaoyun immediately handed the bird feed to the children and went to notify Chu Zhenzhen and Lu Miaohuan. The other children, upon hearing the news, all expressed keen interest and the desire to join. But Lu Changsheng's spirit boat could only carry 12 people. So he decided to take along his sons Lu Yun, Lu Huaizhen, Lu Qingshan, Lu Qingzhu, and a few others. Chapter 433, The Misty Sky Bead, The Transformation of Bai Ling. _1. Half a month later, on the day the second young master of the Lu residence got married, the whole Rui County city was bustling and sensational. With the wedding procession stretching for 10 miles, thousands of banquet tables were set up both inside and outside the city, free for all the guests to enjoy as they pleased. The month-long feast meant that for 100 miles around, there was no need for cooking fires, and even beggars became plump with satisfaction. During this time, Lu Changsheng took a little more interest in the martial arts training of his children. He could understand that children of that age were playful and not diligent in their martial practice. But he was willing to spend more money to nurture those who were willing to train. On this day, as the 10th child broke through to the martial Dao innate level, a system prompt sounded in Lu Changsheng's mind. Congratulations to the host for 10 descendants breaking through to the martial Dao innate, earning the bloodline effect, a 5% increase in the probability of siring offspring and a chance for a lucky draw. Indeed, it's 10. Lu Changsheng was not surprised by this system prompt. When the first 5 children broke through to the martial Dao innate, there was no system prompt for a lucky draw. He had guessed that perhaps it would take 10 children breaking through to the martial Dao innate to trigger the achievement reward. After all, although the martial Dao innate was harder to reach than Qi infusion, it was not limited by the spiritual route. As long as one was willing to spend money, practically anyone could break through to the martial Dao innate. So, it made sense that the requirements were slightly higher than for Qi infusion. System, draw the prize. Lu Changsheng didn't think too much, silently mouthing in his mind. The light red roulette wheel emerged in a glimmer of golden light, spinning immediately, and finally landing on treasure. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining the rare treasure, Misty Sky Bead. The reward has been sent to system space. The host may check it at any time. A pattern of a bead shrouded in gray mist emerged, accompanied by the system prompt sound. A rare treasure, the Misty Sky Bead? Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose at the sight of this reward. He was quite fond of rare treasures. After all, the Rare Treasures, Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates and Profound Origin Bead he got from previous lucky draws were very impressive. The Book of Malevolent Curses and Fates might have been gathering dust, but it had given him the confidence to curse a nascent soul immortal to death. As for the Profound Origin Bead, it hardly needed mentioning. For Lu Changsheng, it was simply a priceless treasure. It not only boosted his combat power by a level but also made his talisman making much more convenient on a daily basis. Lu Changsheng's mind stirred slightly as he looked into the system space to check the effects of this rare treasure Misty Sky Bead. Misty Sky Bead, Grade, 3rd rank. Description: crafted from a millennium-old illusionary demon's pearl, possesses the Misty Sky illusion ability. It can change one's appearance and conceal one's magic aura at will. It can also fully disguise one's identity, even deceiving spiritual contracts. Can change appearance at will, hide one's magic aura, fully disguise one's identity, deceive spiritual contracts? Seeing the description of this Misty Sky Bead, Lu Changsheng's eyebrows rose, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. He had the habit of disguising himself whenever he went out. His current tool for disguising was a high-quality mask, a magic artifact acquired from a robber cultivator. This mask was but a high-grade magic artifact, so naturally, it was nothing special. If a Foundation establishment cultivator inspected it with the spiritual eye technique, they might be able to see through his real appearance. As for concealing his cultivation level and magic aura, he had been relying on a jade pendant given to him by a nascent soul female cultivator when he arrived. This jade pendant should be a rare treasure. After reaching Foundation establishment, he had examined the jade pendant. He knew that not only could it conceal his aura, but it also had certain effects in obstructing divine sense. Now that I have this Misty Sky Bead, disguising myself has become much more secure and convenient. Lu Changsheng looked at the Misty Sky Bead inside the system space, his mental spirit stirred, and he extracted it. Immediately, a bead the size of an egg, shaded in gray with a mist enshrouded around it, appeared before him. Simultaneously, a detailed explanation of the effects of the Misty Sky Bead emerged. It can change appearances and conceal aura, making it difficult for ordinary nascent soul cultivators to see through it. Moreover, it can consume divine sense and mana to disguise as another person, making one's appearance, temperament, and magic aura similar to the other party. Additionally, the Misty Sky Bead can absorb the essence, blood, and soul of others or demon beasts, thereby completely disguising oneself as another person or a demon beast. This type of disguise possesses the true ability to bewilder. Not only the face and appearance are the same, but also the temperament and magic aura, including the bloodline and soul aura, deceiving first and second rank spiritual contracts. Upon learning of the effects of the Misty Sky Bead, Lu Changsheng's eyes showed a trace of delight. The abilities of the misty sky bead were completely beyond his expectations. Not only did it allow one to change appearance and aura so that ordinary nascent soul cultivators would have a hard time seeing through it, but it also provided a remarkably astonishing disguise effect. So comprehensive a disguise that it could even deceive a spiritual contract. It was known that in the cultivation world, when cultivators conduct transactions, the most commonly used method is spiritual contracts. When Lu Changsheng first arrived at the Lu family, he had also signed a spiritual contract with them. But this misty sky bead could even deceive spiritual contracts. Using a disguised identity to sign a spiritual contract, one could later break the contract without worrying about the cost of breaching the agreement. Doesn't this mean that as long as one understands a person through soul-searching techniques, and then slays them, followed by using the misty sky bead to absorb their essence, blood and soul, one would be able to thoroughly disguise oneself as that person, making it hard for even those close to them to notice any difference? Lu Changsheng suddenly felt a chill about the capabilities of the misty sky bead. According to the introduction, such a level of disguise could be considered perfect. Not only could it deceive spiritual contracts, but many techniques that sense bloodlines would also struggle to unearth any loopholes, real or fake. Of course, this kind of disguise was not without its flaws. The process of disguise consumed both mana and divine sense. Therefore, it was not possible to maintain the disguise all year round. And during the disguise, one could not use full power. Once one exerted full power, the disguise's magic aura would be difficult to maintain, and flaws would be exposed. Chapter 434. The Misty Sky Bead, the Transformation of Bai Ling. But as a third-rank exotic treasure, this effect was already quite astonishing. Sure. Right then, Lu Changsheng sat cross-legged and began to refine the misty sky bead in his hand. He wanted to experience the effect of this misty sky bead. After spending 3 days, Lu Changsheng refined the misty sky bead into his body. In his mind, he imagined a cultivator he had seen before and then activated the misty sky bead. Instantly, Lu Changsheng's facial features and body began to change. He transformed into a youth who was skinny, with ordinary looks, and seemed somewhat solitary. The changes of this misty sky bead not only cover one's facial features and body shape but also hide one's aura and temperament, making it look flawlessly concealed. Lu Changsheng tapped his mana, and a water mirror appeared before him. Looking at his reflection in the water mirror, he nodded slightly. The original superior quality magic artifact mask could only change one's facial appearance. It could not modify one's body shape or temperament. One could only alter those by consuming one's mana, suppressing or transforming it. The next moment, Lu Changsheng's mental spirit moved slightly. A wave of spiritual power at the beginning level of qi refinement emanated from his body. This wave of spiritual power rose steadily, advancing from mid-stage qi refinement to late stage and then to the initial stage of foundation establishment. Ultimately, it emitted a wave of mana in the late stage of foundation establishment. The changes in the mana aura of the misty sky bead were determined by the upper limit of the user's divine sense. Lu Changsheng's divine sense had by now reached the late stage of foundation establishment. Therefore, through the misty sky bead, he could directly simulate the mana fluctuations of the late stage of foundation establishment. Immediately after, Lu Changsheng took out a coffin from a storage bag. He opened the coffin. Inside were 2 bodies, a male and a female. They were, in fact, the bodies of the 2 robber cultivators who had caused trouble in the Red Leaf Valley market. Since he planned to take the bodies to the Jiuxiao Immortal City to claim the reward, and to avoid the bodies decaying in the storage bag, Lu Changsheng had purchased a yin coffin to store them. The misty sky bead can devour others' essence, blood, and soul, achieving a perfect disguise and deceiving the spiritual contract. Besides devouring others' essence and soul, the misty sky bead can also merge with others' blood and mana aura, thereby elevating the disguise to yet another level. Lu Changsheng summoned the misty sky bead from his body. He took some blood and mana aura from the two bodies of the robber cultivators and fused it into the misty sky bead. Then, he reintegrated the misty sky bead into his body, and his whole appearance and body shape pulsed for a moment. In an instant, he turned into a burly middle-aged man with scars all over his face. It was precisely the appearance of the gray-robed robber cultivator in the coffin. Cough, cough. Lu Changsheng looked at the water mirror in front of him, coughed lightly, and then mana surged within his body. His face, body shape, voice, temperament, and even his mana aura were exactly like the gray-robed robber cultivator in the coffin. This effect is simply astounding. Now that I have this misty sky bead, my journey to the Jiuxiao Immortal City will be much more convenient. After a brief experimentation with the misty sky bead, Lu Changxing was very satisfied with its effects as an exotic treasure. Now that the preparations are nearly complete, I can get ready to head to the Jiuxiao Immortal City. Lu Changxing returned to his true appearance. Considering that his trip out would take a long time, Lu Changxing also arranged and handled some family affairs for the time ahead. First, he went back to Qingzhou Mountain with his wives, Lu Miaoyun and Chu Zhenjin, and then he went to the Red Leaf Valley Market. Through a shop subdued by the Lu family, Lu Xianji, from now on, this shop will be under your full management. In this storage bag, there are 500 spirit stones. You can buy whatever puppet materials you need, and if there are any issues, go to Gao He or your Auntie Miaoga. If you ever run short on spirit stones, you can get an advance from your Auntie Miaoga. Lu Changsheng took his son to the shop they had acquired, pulled out a storage bag, and spoke. The location of this shop was not great. It was of almost the same grade as the shop Hong Yi had bought before. However, Hong Yi had only spent 1,800 spirit stones to acquire his shop, whereas Lu Changxing had spent 2,300 spirit stones on this shop. This price, even with the Lu family's influence, was discounted. That is to say, the price of shops in the Red Leaf Valley Market had risen by 500 spirit stones in the past 8 years. Thank you, father. Lu Xianji looked at the shop before him and the storage bag, beaming with excitement. Although Lu Changxing had mentioned getting him a shop before, at this moment, seeing such a shop and so many spirit stones, he was somewhat overwhelmed. However, upon hearing Lu Changsheng's following words that he should go to Gao He or Lu Miaoga for anything, he couldn't help but ask, Dad, do you have something busy to attend to? Yes, your father has some matters to attend to and needs to go out for a while, so I won't be around for the coming time. Lu Changxing nodded and said, Dad, will you be out for a long time? Lu Xianji continued to inquire. Chapter 435. The Misty Sky Bead, the Transformation of Bai Ling. Dad, don't worry, I will take good care of Rui when the time comes. When Lu Xianji heard this, he nodded immediately in response. Among the descendants with a spiritual root, he was also considered an elder brother, hence he felt a certain sense of responsibility. Dad, what about brother Yun? Lu Xianji thought of his younger brother Lu Yun, who was also at the 3rd level energy refinement. He figured that Lu Yun would probably reach the energy refinement middle stage around the same time as Lu Rui. As for Yuna, grandmother will arrange everything when the time comes. Lu Changsheng patted his son's shoulder and said, as the son of Lu Miaoyun, the 4th elder naturally doted on this important grandson a lot and would arrange for his care. Lu Changsheng wouldn't refuse such kindness from an elder. Yes, Dad. Lu Xianji, having heard this, immediately nodded. He knew his brother Yun had another layer of backing at Qingzhou Mountain and was even more spoiled. Regarding this, he harbored no jealousy. After all, his own father was quite fair to them. Moreover, as Lu Changsheng's first son with a spiritual root, he also received a lot of privileges and affection. He was very clear about this in his heart. Therefore, his sense of responsibility grew even stronger. Alright, if you want to go back to Qingzhou Mountain, find the 2nd elder, or go back with your Auntie Miaoga. Don't leave the marketplace alone, just focus on running the shop in the marketplace, understand? Lu Changxing continued to instruct, telling his son not to run around. After all, his son was not like him with a bunch of tricks up his sleeve. If he encountered a robber cultivator, it would be a dead end. Dad, rest assured I know all this. You also need to be careful when you go out. Lu Xianxia smiled when he heard his father's instructions. He felt that this was what his father emphasized the most. But he wasn't annoyed in his heart. He knew his father was concerned about his safety. In the 2 years at Red Leaf Valley Market, he had also witnessed such things. Some people, feeling that they couldn't earn spirit stones through apprenticeship work, would go out on adventures with others and never return. If you understand, that's good. After instructing his son, Lu Changxing went to the Lu family's spiritual talisman shop to spend some quality time with Lu Miaoge. Afterwards, Sister Miaoge, I need to prepare for a trip outside. Lu Changxing quietly held Lu Miaoge in his arms, expressing his plans to go out. Lu Miaoge didn't ask too many questions. She knew Lu Changxing had many secrets. This trip out should be similar to the previous one with Xiao Xie, with something that needed to be done. She reassured Lu Changxing that when Lu Rui broke through to the energy refinement middle stage, she would take her in and settle things. She would take care of the Peace Talisman Hall and the children. Sister Miaoge, you've worked hard. Lu Changxing held Lu Miaoge's silky shoulders, speaking softly. He then asked about Lu Miaoge's cultivation level and how long it would take for her to reach energy refinement perfection. In about 2 years, my cultivation level should reach energy refinement perfection, Lu Miaoge replied softly, her lips slightly pursed. Energy refinement perfection meant that one could start preparing for foundation establishment. But under the current circumstances of the Lu family, acquiring a foundation establishment elixir was very difficult. The only way was to bid for one at Immortal City. But the foundation establishment elixirs that surfaced in Immortal City were also very rare. The price every time it was auctioned was extremely high. Moreover, Immortal City was far away, and if the family's ancestor left to bid for a foundation establishment elixir, it would leave the family in a precarious position during that period. Sister Miaoge, you keep cultivating diligently, and when I return, I'll give you a surprise, Lu Changxing said with a smile, caressing her. He planned to reveal his foundation establishment strength upon his return from Immortal City. At the same time, he would give the foundation establishment elixir and foundation establishment spiritual objects to Lu Miaoge to help her establish her foundation. A surprise? What surprise? Lu Miaoge asked, her beautiful eyes looking at Lu Changxing. She knew the surprise Lu Changxing mentioned wouldn't be simple. She couldn't help but guess at several possible surprises in her heart. When the time comes, you'll know, Lu Changxing didn't reveal the surprise but rather kept them guessing. The next day, Lu Changxing handed the talismans he had prepared in advance to Lu Miaoge. Although he relatively trusted Gao He, he still felt uneasy about handing over so many talismans to Gao He at once. Changxing, you must be careful on the road. Seeing so many talismans, Lu Miaoge knew that Lu Changxing had been preparing for this trip for quite some time. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to draw so many talismans in such a short period. If she knew that Lu Changxing had also drawn over 200 second-rank talismans at the same time, she would probably be too shocked to speak. Don't worry, Sister Miaoge, Lu Changxing said with a smile, planting a kiss on Lu Miaoge's fair and delicate face, then waved his hand casually. He did not set out directly after leaving the Red Leaf Valley Market. He still hadn't said his goodbyes at Qingzhou Mountain. Back at Qingzhou Mountain, he informed his wife, Lu Miaoyun, Chu Zhenzhen, and Lu Miaohuan about his departure. These wives of his had different temperaments than Lu Miaoge. They let him know of their reluctance and asked him to be careful on the road while inquiring about the matter. Lu Changxing naturally couldn't say that he was heading to Jiuxiao Immortal City. If he mentioned going to Jiuxiao Immortal City, his wives would definitely say it was dangerous and try to prevent him from going. So he said it was just a gathering with old friends, and then some business. After that, he took care of all his concubines and children. On this trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City, I can also buy a large amount of high-rank breakthrough elixir materials. Once I return, I will refine a few batches myself, and let Yuner, Huan, Zhenzhen, and Jiwei all break through the energy refinement late stage, Lu Changxing thought to himself as he looked at his wife's cultivation levels. Since they hadn't been having more children in recent years, Lu Miaoyun, Lu Miaohuan, Xia Zhiyue, and the others had time to practice cultivation. All of them had reached the 6th level energy refinement. That bottleneck from the middle stage energy refinement to the energy refinement late stage. If they did not have the help of breakthrough elixirs, breaking through would be difficult. As for Chu Zhenjin, since she wasn't very attentive to cultivation and spent most of her time on the children, she was still at the 5th level energy refinement. Lu Changxing didn't say much about this, letting her be herself. After all, if it came down to serious practice, most of his wives and concubines weren't exactly ardent in their efforts. Like Lu Miaohuan, for instance. With her talent, if she had been diligently practicing, she should have broken through the energy refinement late stage by now. At this rate, I'm afraid the person with the second highest cultivation level in my backyard will be Bai Ling, Lu Changxing thought as he looked at Bai Ling. Bai Ling had an exceptional talent and listened to Lu Changxing very well. He had told her to practice cultivation earnestly, so she had been diligently practicing every day. By now, she too was at the 6th level energy refinement. She probably could break through the energy refinement late stage on her own, without needing a breakthrough elixir. Brother, upon learning that Lu Changxing was leaving, Bai Ling also showed a face full of reluctance and hugged Lu Changxing tightly. The once frail and delicate little girl was now 17 years old. She had blossomed into an elegantly upright figure. Her face, shaped like a melon seed, was breathtakingly beautiful. Her delicate little features were assembled just right, pure yet subtly enchanting. Especially the girl's big, clear eyes, like peach blossoms, seemingly drunk yet sober, misty, seductive as silk, captivating and beguiling, stirring one's heart and soul. This enchantment, perfectly harmonized with her overall innocence and loveliness, seemed neither conflicting nor conspicuous. It portrayed an alluring yet forbidden temptation. Adding to that, Bai Ling's naturally timid and well-behaved demeanor made one want to tease her even more. Good girl Linger, Lu Changxing had watched the little girl grow up and, out of habit, fondly rubbed her small head. Over the years, he had clearly seen Bai Ling become more and more charming and enchanting. This allure was, seemingly, innate to her. And as she grew older, the white scales on her body continued to grow as well. Her tender white arms, slender neck, flat abdomen, smooth back, and well-shaped straight legs were all covered with a dense layer of white snake scales. To this day, Lu Changxing still hadn't figured out what was the deal with Bai Ling's snake scales. But these scales, much like Bai Ling's pure allure, blended perfectly with her fair and delicate skin, not looking out of place at all, as if she was wearing a form-fitting scale armor dress, an exotic charm of its own. It led Lu Changxing to speculate whether Bai Ling had demon race bloodlines. As far as he knew, some people with demon race bloodlines in their ancestry would occasionally have a slim chance of their bloodlines reverting. If bloodline reversion occurred, signs of demonic traits would appear. So on this trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City, Lu Changxing also wanted to see if he could find any related information. After all, the Grand Immortal City is bound to have a broader range of material and information than a small marketplace. Chapter 436. After leaving Qingzhou Mountain, Lu Changxing transformed into a robust, valiant-looking middle-aged man and flew towards the Nine Dragons Market on a spirit boat. This trip was indeed heading towards Jiuxiao Immortal City. But he also took the opportunity to pay a visit to the Nine Dragons Market along the way, to see if White Jade Tower had any decent maids, and to buy and handle some materials as well. The various items he had acquired from Meng Yibai and two robber cultivators at the Foundation establishment stage had yet to be dealt with. He had decided to take care of them now. 2 days later, a spirit boat descended outside of the Nine Dragons Market. Lu Changxing, seeing the Nine Dragons Market standing tall and straight with 9 peaks piercing through the clouds, felt a sense of returning to a familiar place. When the great battle between the Lu and Chen families erupted, he left Nine Dragons Market. Apart from returning once to retrieve the maids, he hadn't visited since. Following the crowd, he queued up and, after handing over a spirit stone, he got a temporary identity card and entered the marketplace, heading straight for White Jade Tower. What would you like to know, sir? Whether to take a wife or a concubine, or to purchase a maid? A red-dressed woman greeted him with a beaming smile as soon as he entered, giving Lu Changxing a nostalgic feeling. He hadn't been to White Jade Tower for 10 years. Is Feng Jianyang, the manager, available? Lu Changxing then asked, recalling that utterly charming manager. Sir, Manager Feng was reassigned and left 7 years ago. Now the establishment is under the management of Manager Xia. The receptionist replied respectfully. Oh, reassigned. Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows upon hearing this. He didn't expect that Manager Feng was no longer here. But it didn't bother him much. Organizations like White Jade Tower operated branches in many places, so reassignments and promotions were quite common. Shortly thereafter, under the reception of the red-dressed woman, he went to the second floor to meet Manager Xia of the White Jade Tower. This Manager Xia was of superior beauty and form, and her pleasant demeanor made others feel at ease. One could only say that White Jade Tower truly excelled in their services. Does your establishment have any middle grade or higher grade spiritual root maids available? Lu Changxing picked up the tea, took a light sip, and stated his needs. Middle grade or higher grade spiritual root maids? Manager Xia showed a hint of surprise in her beautiful eyes upon hearing this, realizing she had encountered a major client. With a dignified face and graceful posture, her voice soft and melodious, she said, Mr. Han, both middle grade and higher grade spiritual root maids are quite rare in our White Jade Tower. They are only supplied during our members-only events or the White Jade Tower auction. If Mr. Han is willing to take a wife or a concubine, we do have a few female cultivators with middle-grade spiritual roots that I can introduce to Mr. Han, Manager Xia said. Taking a wife or a concubine, Lu Changxing, as a regular customer of White Jade Tower, well understood that this was White Jade Tower acting as a marriage broker intermediary. Although it came with a certain guarantee, it wasn't like purchasing a maid where the transaction concluded with a binding spiritual contract, life and death at one's whim. So, he had no intention of taking a wife or a concubine from White Jade Tower. I do not currently have any plans regarding taking a wife or a concubine. How often does your auction take place? Lu Changxing asked thoughtfully. He was quite familiar with the member-only supply at White Jade Tower, knowing that every year they offered a batch of top-quality maids. Not only were these maids attractive and well-shaped, but most also possessed spiritual roots and even cultivated certain dual cultivation techniques, suitable for use as alchemic cauldrons. However, due to the exorbitant price, starting at several thousand spirit stones, he merely gleaned basic information and refrained from further inquiry. Now, hearing this, he knew that the only way to purchase a middle-grade spiritual root maid was through such means. This was to be expected. Although White Jade Tower was powerful, rumored to be overseen by a nascent Soul True Lord, they couldn't possibly sell middle-grade or higher-grade spiritual root maids without limit. After all, in the cultivation world, 90% of cultivators possessed lower-grade spiritual roots. Owning a middle-grade spiritual root indicated a certain worthiness for cultivation. Our White Jade Tower auction occurs once every 3 years, and it has been 1 year since the last auction. If Mr. Han is interested, I can send someone to notify you when the time comes, Manager Xia spoke. All right, thank you, Manager Xia. Lu Changxing nodded upon hearing this, planning to check out the members-only supply and the auction when he had the time. Afterward, Lu Changxing bid farewell to White Jade Tower and proceeded to Qingyun Commerce Guild, Myriad Treasures Pavilion, and other major shops to purchase second-rank talisman-making materials, second-rank elixir materials, third-rank talisman-making materials, and the black essence iron and 5 metals iron needed to forge the talisman artifact, 99 Profound Truth Strategy. As expected, after inquiring shop by shop, aside from second-rank talisman-making materials and some alchemy materials, none of the third-rank materials were available in the 9 Dragons market. Third-rank heavenly and earthly treasures mostly belong to the category of strategic resources, only available in places like Immortal cities. In 9 Dragons market, Selling such high-level treasures not only proves challenging but can also attract trouble. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly. He had already speculated about this and was not disappointed. After purchasing the talisman-making and alchemy materials, he sold those materials he himself did not need. As for the ordinary magic artifacts, he didn't sell them, since with so many children he would eventually need the artifacts. Selling these miscellaneous materials fetched him nearly 10,000 spirit stones. Just as Lu Changxing was finishing his business and preparing to leave, he sensed a covert divine sense stealthily scanning him. Foundation establishment early stage? Chapter 437. Instant Kill Foundation Establishment, the best use of the Misty Sky Bead. Is this an attempt to murder for loot? I never expected Myriad Treasures Pavilion, with its big name, would actually engage in murder and robbery. Lu Changsheng's divine sense was comparable to that of a foundation establishment late stage, and he had the Misty Sky Bead to conceal his magic aura. Therefore, the foundation establishment early stage cultivator was completely unable to detect his disguise. Upon using his divine sense to inspect, he only took him for an energy refinement late stage cultivator. He then quietly left a divine sense mark on the hem of his clothing for tracking purposes. Indeed, my extravagant purchases and spending tens of thousands of spirit stones, not to mention fencing goods of equal value, would tempt even foundation establishment cultivators into greed, he mused. With the Misty Sky Bead and his strength as a foundation, Lu Changxing was not as cautious this time as he usually was. After completing a transaction, he would go to an inn and change his disguise. The whole time, maintaining a single identity. If one wishes to be a robber cultivator, one must be prepared to pay the price. Lu Changsheng's expression remained calm, seemingly unaware he was being targeted, and he quickly left Nine Dragons Market. Upon exiting the marketplace, Lu Changsheng took out a superior magic artifact. He flew at the speed of an ordinary energy refinement late-stage cultivator, being followed. Before long, Lu Changxing could sense 100 zhang behind him, a figure dressed in black vestment robes and wearing a mask. This person was a manager from the Myriad Treasures Pavilion of Nine Dragons Market. The other party must also be concerned about their reputation. Therefore, they planned to wait until he was a good distance away from Nine Dragons Market before making a move. After Lu Changxing flew nearly 100 miles away from Nine Dragons Market, the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion openly pursued him with escape light, not bothering to conceal his intentions. "Young one, don't blame this old man, blame your own lack of restraint." He unleashed the grandeur of a foundation establishment cultivator, brandishing a spiritual artifact flying dagger, aiming to kill Lu Changxing in one blow. Looking at the oncoming manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion, Lu Changxing let out a cold snort. He activated the soul dispersion needle with his divine sense, allowing this divine sense attack to suddenly pierce into his opponent's sea of consciousness. Pooh! The manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion had no defense against the divine sense attack and was caught completely off guard. He immediately felt his sea of consciousness being pierced, his face paled, his brain spun in dizziness. He raised his hand to his forehead and let out a muffled groan. Bad news. A divine sense attack. This person is a foundation establishment cultivator. A foundation establishment late-stage great cultivator. The manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion barely freed himself from the divine sense attack, his heart filled with shock and terror. He had never expected his greed for killing and looting to be exactly what the other party was angling for. His whole body surged with spiritual light as he hurriedly shouted, "Fellow Daoist, it's a miss!" But before he could finish, several sharp and domineering beams of the seven luminaries' sword cut through the air, shooting towards him simultaneously. Pu piu piu. The beams from the seven luminaries' sword penetrated the protective spiritual light around the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. Then they pierced through his forehead, leaving a bloody hole. A foundation establishment great cultivator thus fell. This divine sense attack technique is really useful. When it's unexpected, it leaves one with no chance to defend. Lu Changsheng looked at the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion whom he had just instantly killed and mused to himself. Immediately, he raised his palm and the misty sky bead appeared inside his body. Go! The gray mist from within the misty sky bead stirred, like a great gray snake, sweeping towards the corpse of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. In a short while, the body was drained of flesh and blood under the gray mist, turning into a pile of dry bones. It looks so much like a technique from the demon path. Lu Changsheng looked at the skeleton that remained after the misty sky bead had devoured the body and couldn't help but comment. He then gestured with his hand to withdraw the misty sky bead back into his body. The next moment, his entire body fluctuated. His face, physique, temperament, magic aura, all became identical to that of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion. So this is the perfect disguise of the misty sky bead. Although the flesh, soul core, and cultivated techniques remain unchanged, the effect and appearance presented are as if I'm a completely different person. Lu Changsheng quietly experienced this new state. The misty sky bead inside him seemed to be imprisoning the flesh and soul of the manager from Myriad Treasures Pavilion, thus making his appearance identical to his. If I now return to Nine Dragons Market, wouldn't I be able to use this identity to glean a fortune from Myriad Treasures Pavilion? Lu Changsheng stroked his chin, contemplating. He may have understood the best use for this treasure. That is, to become a thief. Even nascent soul immortals would typically not realize the effects of the misty sky bead. And yet now, she personally went out to welcome an energy-refining cultivator. If word of this got back to the Qingyun sect, it would likely cause a sensation. Changsheng, why have you come? Once they entered an inn, Xiaoxia's cold face softened, her voice full of joy. I'm planning to make a trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City, so I thought I'd come to see you first, said Lu Changsheng openly. As he spoke, his figure transformed, removing the disguise and reverting to his true appearance. Heading to Jiuxiao Immortal City? Xiaoxia, a bit taken aback by his words, immediately remembered the two robber cultivators Lu Changsheng had killed in Red Leaf Valley Market. The two were wanted by the Heavenly Sword sect, and one could take their heads to the sect or Jiuxiao Immortal City to claim the reward. Yes, I want to buy some materials which aren't available in this marketplace, so I thought of looking in Jiuxiao Immortal City. Also, to claim the rewards for those two robber cultivators. Lu Changsheng explained. Changsheng, if you need any materials, I can help you purchase them through Qingyun sect, Xiaoxia said immediately upon hearing this. If possible, could you help me acquire some third-rank talisman materials? Lu Changsheng said after a slight pause. Although he was heading to Jiuxiao Immortal City to buy third-rank talisman materials, how much he could get was still uncertain. After all, third-rank materials were much rarer than second-rank ones. And he would never complain about having too many third-rank talisman materials. They were always welcome in abundance. As for the mild second-rank spiritual blood, an ingredient for crafting the 99 profound truth talismans, as well as materials needed for refining breakthrough elixirs, 3 Suns elixirs, or even foundation establishment elixirs, he couldn't just impose all of it on Xiaoxia at once. After all, Xiaoxia was just a foundation establishment cultivator. Even with the channel of Qingyun sect, she didn't have that much influence. He planned to ask for her help if he didn't get results in Jiuxiao Immortal City. Third-rank talisman materials? Xiaoxia's beautiful eyes revealed a look of surprise upon hearing this. Then she asked, Changsheng, can you really draw third-rank talismans now? What are you thinking about? Lu Changsheng looked at Xiaoxia's surprised face and pinched her fair and delicate cheek with a smile. Then he sat on the bed beside him, pulled Xiaoxia's soft and fragrant body into his arms, and spoke softly, I have a talisman nurturing secret technique that can nurture second-rank spirit talismans into third-rank ones. But it requires the use of third-rank talisman materials to draw them. That's why I'm preparing to buy some third-rank talisman materials for making talismans. Later, with the nurturing method, the second-rank talismans will unleash the power of third-rank talismans. Lu Changxing, embracing Xiaoxiye's graceful and curvaceous fairy-like body, inhaled the heart-pleasing fragrance from her hair and continued slowly. Such a talisman-nurturing secret technique exists? Xiaoxiye snuggled in Lu Changxing's arms, saying in surprise. She had never heard of this before. Yes, after I draw the talismans, I will teach you this talisman-nurturing method so you can nurture spirit talismans regularly, Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. This kind of spirit talisman nurturing could only be done for 2 or 3 at a time. If too many were nurtured, it would affect one's own cultivation. Therefore, he didn't mind teaching this secret method to Xiaoxiye, giving her a few talismans to nurture herself for protection. Then, thank you very much, Lu Lang, Xiaoxiye said with a beaming smile. She knew Lu Changxing's personality. If he said he would give something, he didn't like others to refuse. Besides, she wouldn't decline Lu Changxing's kindness. Yu, Lu Changxing said, looking at the beauty in his arms. He thought of Xiaoxiye's proud and untouchable demeanor when she stepped out of the marketplace earlier, like the noble fairy from the Moon Palace, and felt a surge of heat in his heart. Xiaoxiye lifted her head slightly. The next moment, Lu Changxing captured her rosy and luscious lips, full of juicy temptation. The familiar pressure and plunder overwhelmed her, causing Xiaoxiye to soften in his arms, her heart to tremble, and a sultry moan escaped her nostrils. After a long while, Lu Changxing released Xiaoxiye, whose face was flushed like the rosy clouds and whose body was warm and moist, leaving her gasping for breath. He chuckled and said, "The taste of Yu is still so sweet and rich." Xiaoxiye's clear eyes were slightly dazed. She placed her hands on Lu Changxing's shoulders and offered her lips again, expressing her longing. Chapter 439. Draw for Spiritual Pets. Colluding with the Demon Path. _1 The room was clear after the rain, and a faint fragrance filled the air. Xiaoxiye's black hair was disheveled, her forehead nestled in Lu Changxing's arms, whispering sweet nothings. Lu Changxing held her tenderly, his palm lightly lifting to take out a memory stone from his storage bag. It contained recordings of their daughter Lu Wangshu's everyday life. Knowing Xiaoxiye would miss their daughter, he had prepared for this in advance. Xiaoxiye watched the small moments of her daughter in the memory stone, who could already call out for her parents, prompting waves of longing to see her child. Yu, if you miss Wangshu, you can go to Red Leaf Valley Market to find Miaoga and have her bring Wangshu over. I have already discussed our matters with her, Lu Changxing said tenderly, caressing her soft and smooth skin. Xiaoxiye acknowledged softly, with a light hum. Having spent nearly a year in Green River Marketplace, she could make time to visit her daughter. By the way, Changxing, the journey to Jiuxiao Immortal City from here is long, and even if you hurry, it will take 4 to 5 months. There is a spiritual vessel from Qingyun Market that goes to the 3 great immortal cities once a year. I remember there's one heading to Jiuxiao Immortal City next month. You could take that vessel. It's not only convenient but also much faster. That's when Xiaoxiye spoke softly, lifting her beautiful head. Oh, a spiritual vessel? Lu Changxing's eyebrows raised at that. He knew that many businesses in the spiritual boat pavilion did this, traveling between various marketplaces and immortal cities to make money from passage fares. But those were all medium and small-sized spirit boats. In his view, taking such boats was less convenient than piloting one himself. Now, hearing Xiaoxiye's words about a huge spiritual vessel specifically bound for Jiuxiao Immortal City, he became quite interested. That's correct. This huge spiritual vessel from Qingyun Market to Jiuxiao Immortal City only takes 3 months. Not only is there a false core immortal overseeing it, but there are also private rooms, so you, Changxing, can cultivate and make talismans in peace. Xiaoxiye said with a soft laugh. Her eyes and brows exuded a captivating charm that only Lu Changxing was privileged to see. Such a spiritual vessel must not be available to just anyone, right? Lu Changxing spoke out. You need to purchase a ticket, but if you need it, Changxing, I can secure one for you. Xianxia spoke softly. As the record chief in Green River Marketplace and holding some influence within the sect, she could secure a ticket. Since that's the case, then it'll trouble you to do so, Shiyu. Lu Changxing did not refuse, accepting the offer right away. Setting aside other factors, the fact that the huge spiritual vessel only took 3 months and provided private rooms to comfortably make talismans made it very appealing to him. If he were to pilot a spirit boat himself, not only would it waste time, but he might also encounter troubles that would prevent him from focusing on cultivation and other tasks. 3 days later, Xiaoxia handed Lu Changxing a green jade token with cloud patterns etched into it. She told him that Qingyun sect's giant spiritual vessel would depart in 24 days. Once in Qingyun Market, he could board the spiritual vessel to Jiuxiao Immortal City by showing this jade token. To find out how to board, he simply had to ask one of Qingyun sect's reception disciples with the token in hand. The trip from Green River Marketplace to Qingyun Market would take nearly half a month as well. So, after spending 3 days with Xiaoxia, Lu Changxing set out for Qingyun Market. In order to avoid trouble on the way and to board the spiritual vessel easily, he used the Misty Sky bead to suppress his magic aura to the level of a mid-stage foundation establishment. Half a month later, Lu Changxing safely arrived at Qingyun Market. Looking at the marketplace before him, he was reminded of 6 years ago when he and Xiaoxia had broken through to foundation establishment here, and when they had slain a grandson of a false core immortal. While registering his identity, Lu Changxing presented the jade token and inquired about the giant spiritual vessel. The Qingyun sect disciple, upon seeing the token, immediately told Lu Changxing that the spiritual vessel would be landing at the north gate of the marketplace in 3 days. Lu Changxing should go there early to wait, and someone would make the necessary arrangements. After understanding the general situation, Lu Changxing began to stroll around Qingyun Market. This trip was mainly for purchasing. As a major marketplace second only to the Immortal cities, Qingyun Market naturally had many materials for sale. After 2 days of busy shopping, he roamed the marketplace thoroughly and indeed found some treasures. He had not only bought many second-rank materials for talisman making and rare medicinal herbs, but he had also acquired the spirit blood of a demon beast called Jade Sun Deer. This spirit blood had mild properties and could be used in medicine making. It was more than suitable for awakening Lu Wangshu's blood talisman's spiritual body. The only downside was that there was too little of the spirit blood. The store sold it in portions rather than in full gourds. My spending is like water flowing. I guess I'll have to sell some spirit talismans and elixir medicines on this trip to Jiuxiao Immortal City. Otherwise, the remaining spirit stones may not be enough for me to forge the 99 mysterious true strategy and purchase a large number of third-rank talisman-making materials. In 2 days, Lu Changxing had spent over 20,000 spirit stones. It made him lament that money indeed flowed like water. This was also because his second-rank talismans were selling well at Peace Talisman Hall, which brought in a profit of nearly 3,000 spirit stones a month. Otherwise, no foundation establishment cultivator could afford such spending. Like the time at 9 Dragons Market, the steward from Myriad Treasures Pavilion who tried to rob him had only over 3,000 spirit stones in his storage bag. All his possessions combined were worth just a little over 20,000 spirit stones. Yet, Lu Changxing's expenses during this period amounted to over 30,000 spirit stones. Despite this, he still had over 40,000 spirit stones left. Moreover, he had many precious materials and spiritual artifacts that were not easy to sell. If he were to liquidate everything, he could instantly exchange them for 70 or 80,000 spirit stones. Chapter 440. Draw for Spiritual Pets. Colluding with the Demon Path. If the spirit stones were still insufficient, he could also draw spirit talismans and refine elixir medicines to quickly gather funds. The next morning, as the sky began to show the first light of dawn, Lu Changxing arrived outside the northern gate of Qingyun Market. At this time, there were already many cultivators waiting, including several Qingyun sects patrolling law enforcement cultivators. It seemed they were all waiting for the arrival of the Qingyun sect's spiritual vessel. Han Sr., when the spiritual vessel arrives, please line up here and board the second floor of the vessel, a Qingyun sect disciple inquired about Lu Changsheng's situation. Seeing the green jade token in his hand, he briefed him on the general situation. Okay. Lu Changsheng nodded his head. After waiting for nearly an hour, a 3-level tall, 50 to 60 zhang long spiritual vessel, wrapped in luminous formation light, slowly descended from the high clouds. This spiritual vessel was not only inscribed with formation runes but also had several artillery turrets, which made one feel insignificant while also imparting an indescribable sense of oppression. How powerful could these turrets be? Are they comparable to a blow from a core formation? Lu Changsheng wondered to himself as he looked at the spiritual vessel. He had heard that some large spirit boats would be inscribed with attack formations and equipped with large-scale magic artifacts. During major power conflicts and battles, they would use spiritual vessels to transport resources and manpower to the battlefield. Such spiritual vessels also belonged to the category of strategic magic artifacts. Ordinary powers simply couldn't afford them, nor did they have channels to purchase them. Everyone present yourself with the token in hand, and line up in order to board the spiritual vessel. If you disrupt the order, boarding qualifications will be revoked. The spiritual vessel was hovering in midair as 2 Foundation establishment cultivators came out and spoke, their voices booming. As soon as their words settled, a rainbow light descended from the spiritual vessel, forming a series of steps. At this time, the Qingyun sect's law enforcement cultivators ordered people to line up and board the vessel in sequence. Having observed and understood the situation, Lu Changsheng knew that the tickets for this massive spiritual vessel came in 3 tiers. The first tier was the purple jade token, for luxury upper-class rooms. The second tier was his type, the green jade token, for ordinary guest rooms. The third tier was the white jade token, where all passengers shared a hold without private space. There were only 3 persons holding purple jade tokens on this trip on the spiritual vessel. They appeared either rich or noble, likely descendants of nascent soul immortals or members of large aristocratic families. After these 3 boarded the spiritual vessel, Lu Changsheng also started lining up to board. Recommended by Shiyu Jr.'s sister? May I ask how to address you? After boarding the spiritual vessel, a Foundation establishment cultivator checked Lu Changsheng's jade token and asked. Lu's cultivator Han Li. Lu Changsheng made a bow with hands folded in front. All right, Daoist Han, room number 9, please enter. After a simple login by this Foundation establishment cultivator, he didn't inquire further. All right, thank you. Lu Changsheng nodded, making his way to the guest rooms on the second floor of the spiritual vessel. The room wasn't large, just a single room of about 10 square meters. For Lu Changsheng it was more than enough. He had purchased quite a lot of talisman-making materials in 9 Dragons Market and Qingyun Market. Over these 3 months, he could calmly draw talismans on board the spiritual vessel. Half an hour later, the spiritual vessel rose high into the sky and set off for Jiuxiao Immortal City. Lu Changsheng brewed a pot of spiritual tea and quietly watched the sea of clouds outside the window. He had long since grown tired of such scenery. But his first time on a spiritual vessel was like the first time he had flown on a plane in his previous life, somewhat novel. He couldn't help but think to himself when he would be able to own a spiritual vessel like this. After all, such a spiritual vessel truly exuded dominance. Having finished a pot of spiritual tea and watched the clouds for a while, the novelty of riding the spiritual vessel had almost vanished. Lu Changsheng exhaled softly, took out a talisman brush and paper, and began to draw spirit talismans with his mind tranquil. In the blink of an eye, half a month had passed. Congratulations to the host. 10 offspring have completed the Qi introduction into body and stepped onto the path of cultivation, earning a 5% increased probability for offspring to have a spiritual root and receiving 1 chance to draw a lottery. 10 now. Lu Changsheng, who was making talismans, heard the system alert and a faint smile appeared on his face. His children were now starting cultivation in an orderly manner. In the next 3 years, another 10 children would step onto the path of cultivation. These children would be the foundation of his future family. The probability effect of having offspring with a spiritual root, if kept on increasing like this, wouldn't it guarantee that all my future children will possess a spiritual root? Lu Changxing, observing the 5% increase in the probability of siring offspring with a spiritual root, mused to himself. After several enhancements, the chance for his offspring to have a spiritual root had already risen to 15%. This probability was far from low. You see, when 2 cultivators have children, the chance that the child will have a spiritual root is only about 10 to 20%. But I would also need a sufficient number of wives and maids to maximize this passive effect. Lu Changxing exhaled lightly. He was now ready to stream in more resources and focus on selectively breeding. There weren't many pregnant wives or maids left in his backyard. Apart from the 7 new concubines and maids, many had already given birth among his wives and maids. Thus, aside from Xia Zizhu, Lu Miaoge, and Xiao Xie, Lu Changxing didn't really want to keep having them bear children. However, once I establish my family and reveal my foundation establishment strength, these matters should resolve themselves. Lu Changxing contemplated privately. Merely by revealing his second-grade talisman master abilities, he already had many people willing to send their family juniors to be his concubines or maids. If he were to reveal his foundation establishment strength, then even more families and powers would likely be willing to send over their talented juniors. Indeed, in the cultivation world, as long as you have strength, many problems cease to be problems. Lu Changxing shook his head and sighed, then silently commanded in his mind. System, draw the lottery. A pale red wheel of fortune emerged, bathed in a golden light that began to spin rapidly. After a moment, the light slowed and rested on Pet. Ding! Congratulations, host. You've obtained a spiritual pet, cold blue dark turtle. The reward has been distributed to the system space. The host can check it at any time. An image of a dark blue turtle radiating a chilly aura appeared from the wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Cold blue dark turtle? A turtle species spiritual pet? Lu Changxing scrutinized his lottery prize, frowning slightly. His first impression of turtle species beasts was that they had long lifespans and slow growth. So seeing this cold blue dark turtle, he immediately felt the spiritual pet was of limited use, somewhat mediocre. Immediately, Lu Changxing's mental spirit flickered, turning his attention to the cold blue dark turtle in the system space. Beast, cold blue dark turtle. Rank, heaven rank lower grade. Description, a lower grade beast with the true spirit dark mysterious turtle bloodline. It can grow to its peak in 1,000 years, becoming a 4th rank demon beast. Truly a case of raising a turtle for 3 generations, people pass away, but a turtle remains. Though 1,000 years to grow into a 4th rank demon beast is already very fast for a turtle species beast. But this rate of growth would exhaust even a nascent soul immortal. Lu Changxing, seeing the description of the cold blue dark turtle, couldn't help shaking his head, although he was confident that he could outlast this turtle. With a 9 netherhound in his house that could grow into a 4th rank demon beast in 500 years, he was already dissatisfied with its slow growth. Now this cold blue dark turtle would take 1,000 years to reach the 4th rank, which made him not want to even comment. Forget it, that's the nature of a lottery, always ups and downs, might as well treat it as a common pet. Lu Changxing exhaled and didn't concern himself too much. Although the cold blue dark turtle's growth was slow, it also represented a future potential. After all, a beast's lifespan is several times that of a human being, and the lifespan of a turtle species beast is generally several times that of other beasts. If he took good care of this cold blue dark turtle, maybe it could accompany him for tens of thousands of years. Lu Changxing decided not to take the cold blue dark turtle out from the system space for the time being. He planned to leave it in the system space until he disembarked from the spiritual vessel and arrived at Zhouxiao Immortal City, then take a good look at the situation of this spiritual turtle. Blackwater Pool, Xiaoho family. How dare you infiltrate the Xiahou family? A loud roar resounded, piercing the sky. The next moment, a sword light broke through the void, leaving a crack in the great formation above the Xiahou family estate. Then an escape light flew swiftly through the crack, soaring into the sky, disappearing into the clouds. She must not be allowed to escape. This woman might very well be an agent of the Qingyun sect, infiltrating our Xiahou family to investigate any potential collusion with the demon path. Now that our sect master is challenging Li Duanshuan to a duel, and we're on the brink of war with Jiang country, we cannot afford any missteps. In the depths of the Xiahou estate, several voices exchanged words. Immediately, a figure rose into the sky, transforming into a black divine rainbow, chasing after the escape light that had just fled. This figure was emanating a terrifying spiritual pressure, characteristic of a false core immortal. After all, the spiritual vessel didn't just have a Qingyun sect false core immortal in charge. It was also carrying 3 or 4 Qingyun sect foundation establishment cultivators, along with over 20 foundation establishment passengers. If the Qingyun sect needed help, he thought everyone would be willing to lend a hand. Boom, boom, boom. The Qingyun sect's Qiyun True Immortal, holding a red banner. With a wave of the flag, immediately streams of heaven-scalding, sea-boiling red flames spread, transforming into fire dragons that intercepted the black divine rainbow. Then with a large mana hand, she reached to send the true disciple soaring onto the spiritual vessel. Back off! The figure within the black divine rainbow was a black-robed man whose face was concealed. Enraged by the sight of the fire dragons, he wielded his black great axe and swung it forth mightily. Countless dark runes surfaced, accompanied by a terrifying aura that pierced through heaven and earth, eradicating the fire dragons and bursting with formidable power. At that moment, Qiyun True Immortal also gave up his offensive, switched to defense, conjured a phoenix cover over himself, and shouted loudly. Yes! On the 3rd floor of the spiritual vessel, a Qingyun sect foundation establishment disciple immediately responded. After a short while, on the spiritual vessel, a powerful energy surged. Several cannon emplacements on the vessel glowed with spiritual light, transforming into ancient ferocious beasts, slowly opening their massive mouths, preparing for a terrifying assault. Standing on the deck, Lu Changxing and the others felt the terrifying power being gathered by the cannons and couldn't help but feel their hearts racing. Such cannons, if fired at full strength, are probably on par with a full-force strike from a core formation. Lu Changxing couldn't help but think to himself. He felt that such a spiritual vessel was incredibly formidable. Against a second-rank formation like the one in Red Leaf Valley Market, it was likely to be shattered with a single blast. At that moment, he became even more aware of the importance of a good formation. Chapter 443, The Battle of False Cores, Chu Qingyi. Damn it! The robed false core Immortals saw the cannons brewing on the spiritual vessel's deck, a twitch appearing at the corner of his eye, and an ominous premonition rising in his heart. He knew that once these cannon turrets locked onto him, a single strike would reduce him to ashes. Fire Dragon Pillar, suppress. At that moment, Qiyun True Immortal summoned a column as tall as a man and as thick as a barrel, adorned with a lifelike carving of a fire dragon. The carving of the fire dragon burst forth, transforming into a chain of fire dragons that roared towards the robed false core Immortal, seeking to bind him and allow the cannons to turn him to dust. This little girl has been poisoned by my heavenly corpse poison. Now that the poison has reached her heart, I reckon she won't last much longer. The robed false core Immortal glanced at the offensive before him and then at the spiritual vessel, his expression unwilling as he cleaved with his great axe, recalled the 3 zombies, and turned into a divine rainbow to make a quick retreat. Phew! Qiyun True Immortal watched the enemy retreat, releasing a sigh of relief. If the two of them continued to fight, with the opponent wielding 3 Foundation Establishment Peak zombies, she truly would not stand a chance. As for the attack from the spiritual vessel's cannons, such an attack, once launched, would implicate her if she were to restrain the enemy. Therefore, if it weren't for lack of alternatives, she wouldn't want to employ such a tactic that injures the enemy at the cost of severe damage to herself. She transformed into a divine rainbow and swiftly returned to the deck. Elder, we've seen Qiyun True Immortal. Lu Changsheng and the others immediately bowed in salute to the false core immortal. In the cultivation world, strength dictated seniority. Qiyun True Immortal nodded slightly and quickly checked on Chu Qingji's condition. Qiyun Elder. At this time, Chu Qingyi also managed to open her eyes weakly and called out to Qiyun True Immortal. Qingyi, my niece, what happened? Who is this demon cultivator? Qiyun True Immortal demanded immediately. Xiahou family. Chu Qingyi, surrounded by a gray aura of death, began to speak in a feeble voice. Before she could finish her sentence, she suddenly spat out a mouthful of black blood. The blood splattered on the deck with a strong corrosive effect, and she fell unconscious once more. Xiahou family. Upon hearing this, Qiyun True Immortal's expression darkened. Seeing Chu Qingyi fall unconscious, she knew the situation was very dire. She immediately disappeared from the deck with Chu Qingyi. Xiahou family? Could it be the Blackwater Xiahou family? Hiss, I remember Blackwater Pool isn't far from here, within Xiahou family's domain. Chapter 444. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. _1 Blackwater Pool, Xiahou family. A divine rainbow descended, revealing a middle-aged man clad in a black brocade robe. Ancestor. The Xiahou clansmen at the entrance bowed respectfully upon seeing their ancestor return. Xiahou Wu nodded indifferently and entered the family estate. Ancestor, we have just finished the investigation. This woman entered the back mountain of our clan through Xiahou Xian. At this moment, the Xiahou family head turned to address their ancestor. Xiahou Xian. For such a grave mistake, death cannot absolve him of his guilt. Cast him into the Blackwater Pool and refine him into a Yin corpse. Xiahou Wu paused mid-step, then spoke indifferently. Yes. The family head nodded in response. Xiahou Xian might be an elite member of the family, but for such a serious error, he naturally could not be forgiven. Moreover, the corpses of the Xiahou family's descendants were all refined into Yin corpses upon death, transforming into the foundation of the family. He looked towards Xiahou Wu, continuing to inquire, Ancestor, were you able to capture and kill that woman? That girl was rescued by someone from Qingyun sect, but she was afflicted with my heavenly Yin corpse poison, and the poison reached her heart immediately. She cannot live much longer. Xiahou Wu spoke in a serious tone as he took a seat in the family's grand hall. Rescued by Qingyun sect? Just as he finished speaking, a voice devoid of any warmth or emotional fluctuation sounded. And then, a bronze coffin burst forth from the depths of the Xiahou estate and landed in the middle of the grand hall. Within the coffin was a stiff-faced old man with no beard under his chin and ashen-gray skin with dark red eyes. Ancestor. Ancestor. Upon seeing the coffin's occupant, both Xiahou Wu and the family head respectfully bowed. Replying to the ancestor, I was just about to kill that girl when a Qingyun sect spiritual vessel arrived and rescued her. However, she has already been struck in the heart by corpse poison and surely cannot live long. Xiahou Wu explained. This girl's appearance in our Xiahou family suggests that Qingyun sect has long suspected our family of dealing with the demon path. Now that she has encountered trouble within our Blackwater Pool territory, our Xiahou family cannot be separated from this affair, whether she dies or not. Xiahou Jie spoke in a chilling and uncanny voice. After speaking, he turned to the family head and commanded, Wu Su, Now discreetly send some of the direct descendants out of Jiang country and into Yu country and Jin kingdom. Yes, ancestor. The family head immediately answered. Ancestor, is this really necessary? The sect master and the 5 poisons cult leader will soon challenge Li Duanquan. As long as Li Duanquan is defeated once the Jin kingdom's army invades Jiang country, with our internal support and their external assault, our Xiahou family can achieve great things. At that time, the sect master might even bestow the subsequent cultivation techniques and the method to create elixirs, helping you advance even further, ancestor. Xiahou Wu spoke up. The subsequent cultivation techniques, another step further. Xiahou Jie's ashen and uncanny face gave a cold sneer that was frightful to behold. His descendants were not aware of the inner workings of the Heavenly Corpse sect. He had come out from the Heavenly Corpse sect, not knowing what was happening within his own sect. He spoke with a cold and authoritative voice. Li Duanquan has dominated Jiang country for 500 years, and upon breaking through to nascent Soul True Lord, he slew a 4th-rank demon king. Now his strength is unfathomable. It would not be easy for the sect master of the Heavenly Corpse sect and the 5 poisons cult leader to repel this killer star. Even if the Heavenly Corpse sect master and the 5 poisons cult leader could drive Li Duanquan back, an invasion by Jin kingdom would take years, if not decades. If Qingyun sect's army presses upon us before that, how can our Xiahou family hold out until that day arrives? Xiahou Jie's voice was chilling as he spoke. Ancestor, since it's like this, why don't we abandon Blackwater Pool outright? Xiahou Wu, with a grave expression, said to his ancestor. Abandon Blackwater Pool. Xiahou Jie's ashen face was as rigid as metal, with dark evil qi flowing from his nostrils and mouth, like tiny snakes. Once we abandon Blackwater Pool, where can our Xiahou family go? Once it is confirmed that we've colluded with the demon path, leaving Jiang country would be a wild and foolish dream. By that time, the Heavenly Corpse sect in Jin Kingdom would also view us as traitors, leaving no place for our Xiahou family. Furthermore, I have transformed myself into the Dark Demon Corpse, and now my life force and mana are connected to the veins of Blackwater Pool, making it impossible for me to leave this place. Xiahou Jie's voice was icy, with surging evil qi all around him. He saw Xiahou Wuo's troubled expression and said, with an unfluctuating voice, "Don't worry, it won't be easy for Qingyun sect to destroy our Xiahou family here at Blackwater Pool. They would need to pay a heavy price. As long as we hold out until the Heavenly Corpse sect and the 5 poisons cult drive back Li Duanquan, the crises facing our Xiahou family will also be resolved. Now that Qingyun sect has discovered our relations with the Heavenly Corpse sect, there is no need to hide any longer. Convert the family's great formation into the 10,000 corpses' mysterious information." Xiahou Jie continued. "Yes, ancestor." Both of them nodded in response. Chapter 445. It seems that this Mr. Han is a true gentleman. She continued to use her own mana to suppress the corpse poison, protecting the heart meridians, and nurturing the physical body. But she could clearly feel that the corpse poison was not only spreading throughout the entire body, Dantian and Qi Si, but also causing Chu Qingjia's vitality to weaken continuously. Fearing that in a few more hours she would pass away. Even if the spiritual vessel traveled swiftly, there was no way to return to the Qingyun sect in time for treatment. Fellow Daoists, if any of you have spirit pills or precious medicines that can drive out or resolve poison, or any treasures, you are all welcome to give it a try. Regardless of the effect, this true immortal will provide compensation, and if you can suppress or detoxify the poison in my disciple nephew's body and ensure a stable return to Qingyun sect, our sect will certainly be grateful and owe you a favor. Qiyun True Immortal took a deep breath and continued to address the people on the spiritual vessel. Chu Qingyi was not only an inheritor of Qingyun sect, but also a disciple of Kaiyun True Immortal. Now that she was in a life-threatening condition due to a mission from Qingyun sect, she naturally wouldn't give up easily. On the spiritual vessel, Everyone was aware of Fairy Qing Yi's condition. Hearing Qiyun True Immortal's words, they couldn't help but feel tempted to try their own elixir medicines. After all, Qingyun sect had a fairly good reputation. If they could save Chu Qingyi and gain a favor from Qingyun sect, it would be advantageous for them in many endeavors in Jiang country in the future. It seems that the main problem for Fairy Qingyi lies within the toxins in her body. I wonder if my 7 luminaries sword qi can disperse this poison? Upon hearing Qiyun True Immortal's words, Lu Changxing quietly mused. Qiyun True Immortal, driven by desperation, was willing to grasp at any strand of hope. This made him consider giving it a try as well. After all, his 7 luminary sword qi could not only refine elixir toxicity, but also disperse the resentful spirits from false core immortals. It might have some effect on these kinds of poisons. Maybe I should give it a try. After thinking it over, Lu Changxing decided to make an attempt. Not to mention that saving Chu Qingyi would mean Qingyun sect owed him a favor. This Fairy Qingyi was also the senior sister of his child's mother, and he was willing to lend a hand. After all, he was just attempting to use the 7 luminaries' sword qi to drive out the poison. It wasn't like he was going to use the yin-yang nirvana technique, or the life transference technique, to save someone. By the way, if I were to use the yin-yang nirvana technique and life transference technique, wouldn't that make me a divine doctor? Lu Changxing suddenly recalled how he once saved Lu Miaoge, who was on the brink of death and barely clinging to life, with these 2 secret techniques. He shook his head, stepped out of the guest room, and made his way to the deck. Fellow Su, the cultivation technique I practice has some effect on expelling poisons. I am willing to give it a try to help Fairy Qingyi, Lu Changxing said to a Qingyun sect disciple. Good, fellow Han, please come with me. This Qingyun sect disciple immediately invited Lu Changxing to the 3rd floor. Then he went to a door and knocked. Enter, came an aged voice from inside. Elder, this is Han Li. He claims the cultivation technique he practices has some effect on driving out poison. The Qingyun sect disciple spoke up. I am Han Li, and I have the honor of meeting Qiyun True Immortal. Lu Changxing greeted Qiyun True Immortal with a cupped fist salute. Since that is the case, I shall trouble you, young friend Han. Qiyun True Immortal glanced at Lu Changxing and nodded slightly. Although she didn't believe that Lu Changxing could resolve Chu Qingyi's situation, she was still willing to try anything in a desperate situation. Yes, I will do my utmost. Lu Changxing nodded, approached the bed, and looked at Chu Qingyi. Fairy Qingyi's wounds had already been treated at this point, but her beautiful countenance and fair skin showed a grayish-green hue, indicating that toxins had spread through her body, causing her to be weak and frail. True Immortal, I need physical contact to use my cultivation technique on Fairy Qingyi to expel the poison. Lu Changxing prepared to grasp Chu Qingyi's wrist to start trying to use the 7 luminaries sword qi to expel the poison, but he considered the rule that men and women should not touch each other casually. Moreover, for cultivators, physical contact allows one to use their divine sense to understand the full condition of the other person's body. Therefore, in the cultivation world, using mana or divine sense to touch someone else's body is considered taboo. It doesn't matter, Qiyun True Immortal said. In a critical situation, she didn't have so many concerns. All right, Lu Changxing nodded, took hold of Chu Qingyi's wrist, mana surged within him, and 7 luminaries sword qi emerged through his body, slowly entering Chu Qingyi's body through the palm of his hand. Such pure and sharp sword qi. Qiyun True Immortal observed the strands of 7 luminaries sword qi, and her eyes suddenly saw Lu Changxing in a new light. Sis. Upon contact with the 7 luminaries sword qi, the grayish-green hue on Chu Qingyi's delicate arms started to sizzle like a hot frying pan, and the discoloration receded at a speed visible to the naked eye. Ing. Lying on the bed, Chu Qingyi's forehead beaded with sweat, and she made a soft moan. Excellent, excellent, excellent. This corpse poison most likely entered the body through several wounds, congregating here like a disease clung to the bone, and then spreading and proliferating, making it troublesome. Even he could not solve it in just a moment or two. It's already enough that you could do this. Thank you for your efforts, my friend Han. I have an elixir medicine here you can take to recover your mana. True Immortal Qian nodded, offering an elixir with a gentle tone. She did not need to completely eliminate the corpse poison. As long as Chu Qingjia's life force remained and she lived to return to the Qingyun sect, that would suffice. Within the Qingyun sect were third-rank healers, pharmacists, and spirit pills, naturally confident in reviving Chu Qingyi. Thank you, true immortal. Lu Changxing nodded, recognizing the elixir medicine as a second-tier top-level energy-restoring elixir. He immediately consumed it and quickly began to recover his mana. After sitting in meditation for half an hour, he continued to expel poison from Chu Qingyi. Woof! At this time, Chu Qingyi moaned on the bed, her pale and weak face blushed slightly as a mouthful of black blood spewed out. Am I still alive? Chu Qingjia's long, dense eyelashes trembled lightly, and she slowly opened her beautiful eyes. She felt that after falling unconscious, she had plunged into an endless abyss of darkness. During that time, she could feel waves of force trying to pull her out of the abyss. But all to no avail. Her consciousness was gradually fading. Finally, it was the powerful and domineering sword qi moving within her body that cleaved through the darkness of the abyss and gradually woke her consciousness. Fairy Qingyi, you've awakened. True Immortal Qiyun saw Chu Qingyi waking up and immediately showed a joyous expression. Phew! Seeing this, Lu Changsheng also withdrew his hand from her chest, sighing lightly. At that moment, Chu Qingyi became aware of the presence of a man with his hand on her chest. A touch of blush immediately appeared on her pale face. Fairy Qingyi, this Han has effective mana for expelling the poison, which is why he took such actions. True Immortal Qiyun spoke out to explain. She was aware that her niece was pure and proud, typically keeping away from men. Now, she found herself intimately close to a man, which naturally could be discomforting. Thank you, Daoist Han. Chu Qingyi nodded slightly. She was not an unreasonable person. She knew that such intimate contact was part of her treatment. Had it not been for him, she might not have lived much longer. But before she could finish speaking, another mouthful of black blood burst forth. Daoist Han. True Immortal Qiyun looked toward Lu Changxing, signaling him to continue the poison expulsion. Fairy Qingyi, pardon me. Lu Changxing lifted his palm and spoke to Chu Qingyi. Chu Qingyi, with a voice as soft as a mosquito's murmur, gave a soft and closed her eyes, lying quietly on the bed. Chapter 447, Seated Dao Debate, Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou clan. _1 Chu Qingjia's figure was exquisite, lying flat on the bed. Her pale face flushed slightly, her slender body tensed up, her narrow phoenix eyes tightly closed. Her thick, long eyelashes and tightly pursed lips trembled lightly and incessantly. She had been in a coma before, unconscious. She hadn't felt anything when Lu Changxing expelled the poison from her using the 7 luminaries' sword qi. But now that she has woken up, she was fully conscious. She could clearly feel a warm, large hand pressing against her chest, making her feel awkward and quite uncomfortable. But at the same time, the domineering sword qi that slowly poured into her body from this palm brought her an indescribable comfort. It was as if she was in the icy snow, with a gentle warm breeze brushing against her. She felt as though she was bathing in the warm sun. As the sword qi traveled through her body, dispelling the elixir toxicity, she felt like she was soaking in a hot spring, her whole body warm and cozy, extremely comfortable. Even her mana was being subtly drawn by this sword qi. What is happening? Chu Qingjia's phoenix eyes remained tightly shut, unsure of what was going on. The other's sword qi, why did it have such a strange attraction towards her? Is it because of the sword? Chu Qingyi murmured to herself. Since she could remember, she had been with the Qingyun sect, adopted by Yun Wansheng. She had always been a loner, not talkative, and uninterested in most things. However, one day after seeing Yun Wanshang's sword, she became curious, feeling an inexplicable closeness. Yun Wanshang told her she had a sword heart. After cultivating, she became a sword cultivator. Indeed, it turned out she was exceptionally gifted in the sword Dao. With sword heart clarity, her heart devoted to the sword. She not only mastered one of Qin Yun Sek's cornerstone cultivation techniques, the Qin Yun sword technique, but also soared ahead of others on the path of the sword. At this moment, she faintly sensed that this inexplicable attraction was coming from the sword qi of the man in front of her. This sword qi, just like when she had seen her master Yun Wanshang's sword, had a strange allure to her, making her feel a kinship. It made her want to discuss and exchange views on the sword Dao with him. Phew! At that moment, Lu Changxing felt that he had almost finished expelling the poison from Chu Qingjia's heart veins and retracted his hand from her soft and smooth chest, exhaling a long breath. The moment his hand left, Chu Qingyi, who was quietly experiencing the mysteries of the sword qi, couldn't help but let out a soft moan. Her soft and weak body, after having most of the poison expelled, felt a wave of soreness and swelling. Her tensed feet within her jade boots slowly relaxed, and her cool voice carried a hint of coquettish charm. This moan immediately made Chu Qingjia's pale cheeks blush, her beautiful eyes cast down, somewhat embarrassed to look at Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing seemed not to notice her enticing moan. He said to Qiyun True Immortal with a serious face, "True Immortal, I have done my best to remove the poison from Fairy Qingjia's heart veins. As for the remaining poison, I lack the capability to completely eradicate it." He was telling the truth. To remove the deep-seated residual poison, he would have to use the 7 luminaries heart lamp. Only by continuously burning the poison with the heart lamp's flame could he gradually refine it. However, it was clear he didn't need to go to such lengths. And he didn't want to show off too much. "You have worked hard, young friend Han," Qiyun True Immortal said. "Please rest and recover now, then continue to treat my disciple niece Qingjia's Dantian poison. Afterwards, our Qingyun sect will definitely reward you handsomely, owing you a favor," she continued. Qiyun True Immortal had been monitoring Chu Qingjia's heart veins and vital signs throughout. She knew that Chu Qingjia's heart vein poison had been mostly resolved, enough to last until they reached Qingyun sect. However, the poison had invaded not only her heart veins but also her qi ocean core. If not treated promptly, it could damage her Dao foundation. Once the Dao foundation is compromised, even core formation could be affected, which would be very serious. As she spoke, she took out a bottle of elixir medicines and passed it to Lu Changxing to help him recover his mana. "Yes, after I recover my mana," Lu Changxing replied as he accepted the elixirs and bowed slightly. "Many thanks, friend Han." Chu Qingyi also calmed her emotions, her face a bit flushed, and quietly thanked Lu Changxing. "Fairy Qingyi need not be polite. As it happens, I am good friends with Fairy Shiyu, and it is thanks to Fairy Shiyu that I was able to board your sect's spiritual vessel," Lu Changxing said with a smile. He had boarded the spiritual vessel using the ticket given to him by Xianxia. The Qingyun sect had record of this information. If the Qingyun sect were to investigate his information, they would find out that he was acquainted with Xianxia. Therefore, he openly disclosed his acquaintance with Xianxia. It was also a way to show a degree of closeness to the Qingyun sect. "Friend Han is actually a good friend of my junior sister," Chu Qingyi exclaimed with a bit of surprise when she heard this. Although she was often on missions away from the sect and didn't spend much time with her junior sister Xiaoxia, she knew that her junior sister, due to cultivating the supreme forgetful love technique, was like the 9 heavens bright moon, undisturbed by emotions and external distractions. Aside from cultivating, she showed no interest in anything else. Let alone socializing with others. Unexpectedly, this friend Han before her had become good friends with her own junior sister. But thinking of the 7 luminaries sword qi that Lu Changxing used to expel her poison, she felt somewhat relieved in her heart. She thought it was natural for someone like him to become friends with her junior sister. "I didn't expect young friend Han to be good friends with Xiao," Qiyun True Immortal commented with slight astonishment. Then, a smile appeared on her face. With Lu Changsheng's mention, now that they had this connection, she regarded Lu Changsheng with added friendliness. I happened to encounter Shiyu Fairy during her training, so I was fortunate to get to know her, Lu Changsheng added. Chapter 448, Seated Dao Debate, Supreme Sect Decree, Annihilate the Xiahou clan. Lu Changsheng said politely. Upon hearing this, the two did not ask any further questions. Anyone able to board this spiritual vessel generally had some relationship with the Qingyun sect. Either they were forces in cooperation with Qingyun sect, or they were forces under its jurisdiction, or they had relationships with disciples of Qingyun sect. Lu Changsheng swallowed the elixir medicines and sat in meditation to recover his mana. This spirit pill was a second-tier top-level elixir. In about half an hour, Lu Changsheng's mana had mostly recuperated. Qingyi Fairy, he said, turning his gaze to Chu Qingyi on the bed, who possessed a slender willowy waist and straight, long legs, her curves exquisite, with an air of heroic grace. Thank you for your trouble, Han. Chu Qingyi's eyelashes fluttered slightly as she said softly, then closed her beautiful eyes. Lu Changsheng extended his hand and placed it on her soft and flat lower abdomen. Doing so allowed the seven luminaries' sword qi to better penetrate into her dantian, dispelling the poison inside. As soon as the seven luminaries' sword qi surged into her dantian, Chu Qingyi's body tensed up and she couldn't help but let out a soft moan. If previously, the seven luminaries' sword qi traveled through her body, dispelling the corpse poison in her vital channels and giving her the warm and comfortable feeling of soaking in a hot spring, this time, as the sword qi entered her dantian, it seemed to resonate mysteriously with her own mana and Dao foundation. Deep down, she felt an inexplicable closeness to Lu Changsheng, who was currently before her. Relax a bit. Lu Changsheng looked at Chu Qingyi before him, his expression also showing a hint of confusion. Chu Qingyi was clearly poisoned with corpse poison. Why was her complexion flushed and she kept letting out involuntary delicate moans? Could it be that the corpse poison also contained elements of some seductive poison? It's a good thing she met me, Lu. With anyone else, keeping a calm mind to expel the poison would be difficult, Lu Changsheng mused to himself. However, even with his vast experience, he had to admit that the Chu Qingyi before him was captivating. Her exquisite beauty and elegant figure surpassed countless other women. Even now, ashen and weak, devoid of color in her face, she still possessed a rare and refreshing heroic spirit among female cultivators. Moreover, this woman was a true disciple of Qingyun sect, endowed with exceptional talent. If he could marry her and have children, the children would certainly inherit excellent talents. Lu Changsheng's hand rested on the fairy's smooth and flat lower abdomen, as strands of seven luminaries' sword qi slowly flowed into Chu Qingyi's qi ocean core, dispelling the corpse poison. At this moment, he discovered that when his seven luminaries' sword qi entered deep into Chu Qingyi's qi ocean core, it resonated somewhat with her mana and Dao foundation. This sensation was very peculiar. He had never encountered it before. Is it because this Qingyi fairy is also a sword cultivator? Lu Changsheng wondered in surprise. Such a situation was exceedingly rare. Usually, such resonance occurred when the cultivation techniques practiced by individuals had some similar characteristics. However, this resonance merely allowed his seven luminaries' sword qi to expel toxins from Chu Qingyi's dantian more smoothly, like a fish taking to water. It had no other effects. If anything, the two could perhaps sit down, discuss sword techniques, and exchange their cultivation experiences and insights, which might lead to some inspiration and assistance. But Lu Changsheng's seven luminaries' great freedom sword scripture, inherited through the system, was already very familiar to him, naturally leaving nothing to discuss. It seems young friend Han's cultivation technique is no ordinary technique, to be able to resonate with our Qingyun sect's Qingyun sword technique, showing a degree of commonality. Qiyun True Immortal, who had been using mana to maintain Chu Qingyi's vitality, also faintly sensed the unusual resonance and couldn't help being surprised. Their Qingyun sect protecting green sword art was a peripheral sect-level technique. If Lu Changsheng's cultivation technique could resonate with their sword scripture, it indicated his technique was anything but common. At the very least, it was a peripheral sect-level technique. For a loose cultivator to cultivate such a heritage technique suggested he was not simple and had possessed extraordinary fate to obtain such an opportunity and inheritance. Indeed, if he were an ordinary loose cultivator, he wouldn't have been able to associate and become acquainted with a heavenly genius like my junior martial niece Shiyu. Qiyun True Immortal cast a glance at Lu Changxing. All right then, after quite some time, having dispelled most of the corpse poison in Chu Qinjia's Qi Ocean core, Lu Changxing withdrew his hand and said with a cupped fist salute. Thank you, Han. Chu Qingyi forcibly endured the tension in her delicate body, managing not to emit another embarrassing moan. Possibly due to the sustained suppression of her voice, usually clear and cold, now carried a slightly husky and magnetic quality. Fairy Qingyi is too polite, Lu Changxing replied with a slight bow, thinking to himself that her attempts to suppress herself revealed a rather charming demeanor. Young friend Han, you've taken a lot of trouble this time. Here is a high-rank second-grade breakthrough elixir, which should be helpful for someone in the Foundation Establishment middle stage aiming for the Foundation Establishment late stage. Please accept it. For this deed, our Qingyun sect also owes you a favor. If there is anything in the future, young friend can carry this token and come to our Qingyun sect. At this moment, Qiyun True Immortal took out a porcelain bottle and a token, speaking forth. On one hand, this was to thank Lu Changxing for saving Chu Qingyi. On the other hand, it was also their Qingyun sect's willingness to be acquainted with a talented loose cultivator like Lu Changxing. Such a generous gift, I truly feel undeserving. Lu Changxing appreciated the elixir, thinking that as expected, a big sect like theirs was very generous. A high-grade first-rank breakthrough elixir for advancing from the energy refinement middle stage to the energy refinement late stage cost 1,200 spirit stones. But a high-rank second-grade breakthrough elixir, valuable for pushing from the Foundation Establishment middle stage to the Foundation Establishment late stage, was worth more than 10 times as much. Valued at over 20,000 spirit stones, and moreover, such elixir medicines were extremely scarce. Classified as priceless commodities, often there was no way to acquire them, even with money and without the right channels. Presumably, Qiyun True Immortal noticed that he was at the Foundation Establishment middle stage, which is why she offered such a valuable elixir as compensation. You're tuning in to the Wang Lin's Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.